Coming up this afternoon in the Dattitude podcast, it is our final day here on Radio Row, and we have a wealth of visitors. Some of you know well, and some of you maybe you'll meet for the first time. ESPN SportsCenter anchor Hannah Storm will spend a few minutes and hopefully share her thoughts on what's going on here in New Orleans and also the Super Bowl. Maybe I'll ask her a couple questions about the Pelicans. Nah, we're not going to waste any time on the Pelicans. Our Friday friend Larry Holder is here on Wednesday to talk Saints and give us his Super Bowl prediction. The lead odds maker for Caesars Sportsbook, Craig Mucklow, will tell us why the odds have remained fairly constant in some of the most popular prop bets. We also have someone known as the Celebrity Doc and a son of a former All-Pro quarterback legend to tell us about how he is helping the youth of America. And we will wrap it up today with a special guest, the king of red beans, Devin Snow, a.k.a. Hold the Mayo, will be here. The great news for you is that's less time for me to talk. In other words, shut up, Derry, and start the show.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? You ready to put some polish on the same old story and shine it up? That's what we're going to do here today with some of our guests, and when it's just me talking, which won't be much of this afternoon, trying to find new angles on the coaching search with a few new guests as well as talk about Super Bowl 59 here on Radio Row, the Convention Center in New Orleans. We will do it here on Dattitude, episode number 342, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Wednesday, February the 5th, 2025. You all know who I am. I'm your host, Jim Derry. And got 34 plus years in the sports, on the New Orleans sports media scene. We're doing it here on the Dattitude podcast. You can be a part of the show by typing in your comment, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube page. Our ever-growing YouTube page, you'll always know when we go on the air live, which is normally Monday, Wednesday, Friday, live at 11 a.m., but it's a special schedule this week because it's a special kind of week. Monday, we were on, with the third day in a row we're on. Tomorrow, I'm going to help out with the Saints Insider podcast, so there's no Dattitude tomorrow. Then Friday, we'll be back in our home studio. As things are as crazy as they have been the entire time I've been here so far. They told me Wednesday and Thursday were the craziest days. I mean, you look around, and it's a who's who today. Jaden Daniels was walking around a little while ago. We had Cesar Ruiz on the set. Cam Jordan was over there. Just a ton of people, obviously in the NFL world. And who knows? Some of them may stop by. We never know who's going to be here this afternoon. Let's get to some of the comments before we get started this morning. S. Callie, you were first on this Wednesday. I made your day. Say hi to Hannah. Well, we are going to say hi to Hannah. At about 1:30, she is going to be on. Hannah Storm. We'll be talking about she is being awarded the Pat Summerall Award, which goes to a media personality in sports who is doing good for the community. Obviously, Hannah has her own foundation. She's going to talk about. It's only the second female ever to win the Pat Summerall Award, going back to 2006. We're going to talk to her in a little bit this afternoon. Good morning, Charles. So will the Saints get Kellen Moore as their next head coach? Well, I think if they don't, we're all going to have I'll be in a lot of shock. So, but we will be talking about that. Larry Holder's going to come on about 1:50. He is scheduled to come on. He'll be here for about a half an hour this afternoon. So we'll see what Larry thinks about that. Gary, good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone else out there. Apathy. Lights going out on the prop bet. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to do the lights out prop bet. Is that even in there? It's got to be like, I don't know, plus 5,000 in there somewhere. I don't think that one's in there, but we'll see. Dylan Smith says, we're getting it right today. Good afternoon, everyone. I did say good afternoon, didn't I? I haven't said good morning once yet. We are a full 5 minutes into the show, and not once have I said good morning yet. Although, I could wish you good morning for tomorrow. It is a great week to be in our city. There's no doubt about it. New Orleans is shining. Last night at the media party, saw a bunch of just cool people. ran into a bunch of cool people, people that I hadn't seen in a long time. It was definitely a great night. Look, before we get going any further, let me tell you about my friends at Evangeline Securities. You know all about them, but I'm going to tell you about them anyway. If you're a regular in the show, you know about our friends at Evangeline. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can help you figure out how much that business is worth. If that's you or someone you know, it's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ryan Hemelt, native New Orleanians. Offices on Poydras Street and Lafayette Street, and in Lafayette. You might have trouble getting to the Poydras Street location right now, so if you want to talk to them, you might want to make the appointment for after the Super Bowl. Or walk a long way, whatever you want to do. They will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation, and from there, you will be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. What happens after that? Well, we'll fill you in more later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. The Dattitude podcast, always presented by Evangeline Securities. All right, Charles, I know you want Erin Andrews to stop by. I have not seen Erin Andrews, but if she is here, she is more than welcome to come take the seat. As long as she's a Gator. I didn't know that. Maybe we'll change her. I don't know. I'm just kidding. If Erin Andrews is here and she wants to come on the Dattitude podcast, she's more than welcome. Apathy. If I bring up a car with Devin Snow, it's going to get spicy. Wasn't Devin going to buy himself a Derek Carr jersey last year? Whatever happened to that? I don't know. Good afternoon, Rocky. Glad you're here. Gabe Henderson is actually in the audience today, and he wants me to get Hannah to say, Duval. Now, only Liam Cohen can do it like that. It's not going to happen. David Duca, if Moore is our next head coach, who are the coordinator candidates? I'm glad you asked, because that is actually one of the things that we're talking about, putting a different spin on things and how we're going to talk about the Saints and not the same old way we've been talking about the Saints. I think that's one of the ways. We kind of touched on it with Mike Detillier yesterday, but we'll see. We'll see. You know what, Rod, you want to come on for 5 minutes? He's got his long. Say I surprised him. Right? You don't have to. You know. I want to ask you real quick, because our first guest is coming on in about 5 minutes.
Who's the first guest?
Our first guest is the celebrity doctor.
Celebrity who?
The celebrity doctor. We'll tell you about that in a minute. I want to ask you, what's your opinion on, and this is going to be the topic of the day when Larry comes on later. Your opinion on if it is Kellen Moore. What do you think? What direction do you think he goes in as far as coordinators?
I think, and just kind of needs to get. I don't know who they would be, but I think he needs to get somebody on his staff that's been a head coach before.
Brandon Staley, DC.
Yeah, somebody like that. Yeah, just somebody who's done it before, because I think this team's going to need that kind of leadership. And I just, being so young, I don't know if he's going to be able to command the room right away like he needs to. So I just think he needs to get somebody with a lot of, I don't even care about the X's and O's aspect of it. He just needs to get that leader in there, I feel like. A guy who's led a locker room before.
And I've been super critical about Brandon Staley as his time as head coach, but it's different when you're a coordinator. And we've seen it with Dennis Allen. I think that someone like that coming in, and you're talking about Kellen Moore, is 36 years old. If it is him, he's going to need help saying, this is how you do things as a head coach. So that's why I think that it is even more important to someone. This is how you do your daily, because you don't know how to do that. You can be around it all you want. Doesn't mean you know how to do it.
Yeah, because most of these, whenever you see a guy that moves from a coordinator to a head coach position, I think they figure they can handle the football aspect, but it's like so much other stuff that goes into being a head coach. Just the interviews, like your time is, you have to change your entire time management skills, because it's just different. And I think even like for Dennis Allen, he'd been a head coach before, so he understood it, but I think it can be a little overwhelming at times.
Especially at that age.
At that age, right.
I'm trying to remember me 20 years ago, and I'm a completely different person than I was then. Dylan Smith says, by the way, he says, Rod, my Mississippi guy, he's right behind Mississippi State football field right now, working in Starkville. So
Do what now?
he just wanted to say hello. Dylan Smith, a regular here
Oh,
on
I thought
Dattitude.
you said I was. I was like, no,
No, he said-
I'm on press right. What are you talking about? I got
He says
I got
he's
you
right
now.
behind the Mississippi
got
State
you now.
football field.
Okay.
He's bleeding maroon and white.
I gotta start wearing one of those Nickelodeon. What do you call it?
The
green,
slime
the
heads.
slime. Yeah,
Yeah,
slime
I
head,
went yesterday. Got a chance to go over. SpongeBob was over there, and my daughter is like this huge SpongeBob fan. They were nice enough to we actually FaceTime. There we go. We got the Nickelodeon football. My daughter was actually able to FaceTime with SpongeBob yesterday. Anyway, lastly, I'm going to let you go eat your lunch, but I just wanted you to come on and get your thoughts on the coordinator part of it. The rumors are on OC that it might be Doug Nussmeier. That would be an interesting hire if he did come here as an OC and help Kellen Moore with this offense. While his son is at LSU, you'd hope he'd have maybe Saturdays off in the fall when they were at home and he could go drive up to Baton Rouge.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know if he'd do that for one. Is that worth it?
Yeah. Maybe on their bye week.
Yeah.
All right, go eat your lunch. I just wanted you to stop by and get your thoughts on the coordinator because that is going to be the topic of the day. So we touched on it. Someone asked and we got into it right away.
All right.
Get your lunch. Rod Walker, everybody, talking to us here on the Dattitude podcast. Again, we're going to have a rolling derby of guests today, at least scheduled for 1:10. She's a little late. Dr. Cheryl Bryant Bruce is coming on, and she's our first guest in a little bit. As soon as she comes in, she can come sit down. She's known as the Celebrity Doc. And I'm interested to ask her how that started, but for her, she's got a business called the Windmill Wellness Paradigm. And basically it's stressing the importance of mental balance for athletes as much as the physical aspect of thing. And although she works with a lot of professional athletes, she does work all the way down. She's got a background as a family doctor. She has to come on, and she is going to do that as soon as she gets here, assuming she's here. And then at 1:30, again, Hannah Storm is going to come on and talk about, she is being awarded the Pat Summerall Award. Interested in that, obviously. But we're going to talk to her for about 15, 20 minutes about, obviously, the Super Bowl, but I'm going to ask her thoughts about New Orleans sports and the Saints coaching search and see what she thinks about that. She will not be, by the way, the first ESPN SportsCenter anchor to come on the show. Episode number 1, way back in September of 2021, was New Orleanian Stan Barrett was on this show. If you want to go check that out. That's an audio-only podcast. We weren't doing video back then. Again, then 1:50, Larry Holder's going to sit here. He'll be here for about 20, 25 minutes. Larry's going to come on, and that's what I'm going to talk a lot about the coordinator scene because, as you know, Larry's covered for The Athletic until a week or two ago. He was covering the NFL, and now he's getting into the collectible cards. Yes, they are going to have a department or a collectible cards writer that he subjected himself to that. He's going to come on, but he knows the whole world and the intricacies of who could possibly be coordinators. We've been talking about Brandon Staley as a possible defensive coordinator candidate, possible offensive coordinator candidate Doug Nussmeier, but I'd like to hear some other names of potential guys. Who's available even at this point? And Rod talked about, I agree 100%. One of those guys needs to be a former head coach, not just because you want that experience in building, you do, but because Kellen Moore, again, at age 36, is going to come in here and be a head coach. I just think that it's important that you have one that can help him. 220, Craig Mucklow, who is the lead odds maker and vice president of trading at Caesars Sportsbook, is going to come on the show. I'm going to ask him how the action has been so far this year compared to other seasons. How are we doing in 2025? I saw a number yesterday released. They're expecting close to $1.5 billion, that's with a B, $1.5 billion bet on this Super Bowl 59. And I know you'll be surprised by this, but only half of that is from Uncle Big Nick. So if you take Uncle Big Nick out of the equation, you're still talking about $750 million. That's a lot of money being bet on the Super Bowl. How is the action compared to others? But also, looks like the line was set. It hasn't moved there very much. We used the numbers from Caesars on the board this morning since we have a Caesars representative come on. But the numbers at DraftKings, I look, they're exactly the same. Haven't moved since last week, Monday afternoon. It's Kansas City -1.5, Over-under is 48.5 on DraftKings. And honestly, this number at Caesars is the same number that I've been looking at for multiple days now. Kansas City -1 at Caesars. The over-under is 49. You can get Kansas City money line at -115, and you can get the Philly money line at -105. So there's no real bargain there. I would suggest if you are going to bet the game, you might as well just bet the money line and not worry about the point. That way, if you bet on Kansas City and they win by a point, you don't have to worry about anything. It's not a push. Just give up the nickel. Otherwise, same thing with Philly. You might as well just bet the money line. That's my opinion, instead of taking the point. So that's at 220. And at 240, we're going to have Roman Gabriel III, who is the CEO of a company called Sold Out Youth Foundation, whose mission is to equip the next generation for success without drugs and alcohol. He is also the son of a legendary NFL quarterback, Roman Gabriel, who, if you're old like me, you know who that is. He played football in 16 years from 1962 to, I believe, 1977. Most of his career spent with the Los Angeles Rams. And if you're a Saints fan, you know all about that because played against the Saints, especially into the early 70s before he went over to the Eagles. I don't know. Who's this big crowd for, Robert? Oh, Cam Jordan. I didn't see where he was. All of a sudden there's a monster crowd that formed in front of us, and I couldn't see who they were forming for. He must be going on in the Sirius XM, but he is not coming on the show, by the way. And then wrapping it up this afternoon, as I told you, Devin Snow, a.k.a. Hold the Mayo, is coming on. All right, what else we got here? Mallimal, Kellop. What about Ron Rivera as assistant coach? Riverboat Ron? Would he be interested? That'd be an interesting name for defensive coordinator. Riverboat Ron Rivera? I could definitely go for that. Let's see. Apathy says when he was 12, he held the holy grail of baseball cards in his hands. Friend's grandpa had a mint 1952 Topps mantle card. Man, where's that thing today? And is it still in that condition? Oh, see, I didn't know this. That's why Gabe's watching the show. Apparently, Ron Rivera just took a job with Cal as a GM. Okay. Yes, Dylan, the old Spotify days. You can still, the shows are all on Spotify as well. So you can find us there. No doubt about it. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, we're not going to talk much about Pels today, but I will talk about this. Charles, you're right. Trey Murphy over the last 4 games is a 37.5 point average, 72% shooting average, 26 threes. He had, what was it, 7 or 8? He had 8. I think 8 in this past game against the Nuggets. They played the Nuggets again tonight, so 2 nights ago, I believe. Yeah, Trey Murphy's been on fire. And Rocky's giving us breaking news that the Pelicans just made a trade. What is it, Rock? I have not seen it. You can't find what it is, though. Okay, well, when you maybe Gabe will find it. Maybe here it is right here. They are trading Daniel Theus. He didn't last long as a Pelican. And draft compensation to the Thunder. In other words, they're giving them away. We told you about that earlier, that they might do that because they're trying to get under the salary cap. So that is a logical name. And if that's all, look, if that gets them under, and I said the salary cap, I mean the luxury tax. If that gets them under the luxury tax, you may not see any more moves by the Pels. Should that be it? No. But if you can't, they're having a problem. They can't find a partner for Brandon Ingram. So, yeah, I mean, they need to trade. That's an off-season show, trading for a new team doctor. There's no doubt. Yeah, that trade was, Gabe says trade was a nothing burger. No, we talked about him actually being traded. So trade with the Thunder. That isn't going to change much. Let's see what else we got. In fact, this is worth reading on the air here. I'm wondering if the celebrity doctor is going to show up. If she does, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, she is. Yeah, 1.39 billion expected to be legally wagered. All right, we got our first guest here this afternoon. We're gonna welcome you in to our audience here. You got it. You got it. Dr. Cheryl Bryant Bruce is going to be with us this afternoon for about 10 minutes or so. And Here we go. That's an interesting gadget you got there. That's interesting. All right. First question for you. I got to ask you. You're known as the celebrity doc. How did that happen?
Yes, sir. Well, I actually hit the scene back in about 2005.
Okay.
I'm a concierge physician, and I came in as Elite Personal Physician Services.
Okay.
Branded myself for 2 years before I hit Beverly Hills. I am also an entertainer, an actress. So I came in and I quickly picked up a few celebrity clients, and then I was also acting.
How do you find time being a doctor and being an actress at the same time?
I have actually juggled both careers my entire career long. So, and that career has been over 30 years.
Wow, interesting. All right, now you're part of a company called I looked it up, the Windmill Wellness Paradigm, right?
Yes.
Now tell us a little bit about what that is.
Well, what the Wellness Healthy Lifestyle Paradigm is a signature paradigm that I created. And if you I'm sure you've heard of the 7 pillars. Well, as I said, I've been around a while, and so initially that's where I started, and other people got that idea and kind of ran with it. But they weren't in my head, and as I proceeded to think more about it, I realized that it was a very static model, and health and people are not static.
Right.
So I came up with the model of a windmill, and that's our avatar. And it's a 6-bladed windmill, which if you look up windmills, it is hard to find a 6-bladed windmill.
Okay.
But it's a 6-bladed windmill.
Usually 4.
With a big wide base. And on it is the acronym emphasis, EMPFFSS. And it stands for emotional, mental, physical, financial, family plus 5 ride or die friends, social, and spiritual. And all of the letters of the acronym live on the blades of the windmill, which are in constant motion. And then down on the bottom, on that big wide base, is your core foundation, your spiritual. Spiritual does not mean religious. It means your connection with everything and everyone around you, and particularly your connection with yourself, because so many of us don't have a strong connection with ourselves. And we saw that during COVID. COVID came along.
Absolutely.
We all got isolated inside with ourselves, and people have been having a mental health crisis ever since. You know, the world is in crisis right now.
Have you seen and I'm sure the answer is yes to this, but the level of anxiety, and anxiety, so many anxiety disorders go up since 2020.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it affects athletes, I guess, as well as average Joe.
Well, athletes are the average Joe. They function just the same, except for that they actually have a higher stress level, a higher level of pressure on them. And so, these athletes were significantly impacted by COVID, just like everybody else. And then whereas everybody else came out of COVID and had the luxury of kind of having their meltdowns.
Right.
These athletes did not. They went straight into the pressure cooker, and they actually had to make up for lost time. So, they had even more pressure than they usually would. So, and then they don't have the luxury of showing any weakness.
One thing I find interesting too, and I've covered high schools for a large part of my career, and with high school athletes, I find whereas back when I was a kid, you played baseball, then you played baseball from March to June and it was over, and you moved on, and then you played football, and then you played basketball. And today there are a lot of kids, especially if they're football players, that specialize in football, baseball, and they're playing it year round. And to me,
it's never ending.
No, and it's not just the physical toll that it takes on kids, the pressure that some parents put on their own children. And how do you
the pressure is greater now. I mean, because when we were younger, you wanted to succeed in sports and you hoped it would go further.
Right.
But there was an element of fun to it. Now parents are looking at it as career trackings. And so these kids are starting that pressure, you have to be on point or you're not going to get to be.
How do you work with those kinds of I know it's teenagers, obviously, their minds are still developing. Their brains are not fully developed. How do you work with kids that are dealing with these kinds of pressures?
I work with that in two different ways, because one, I try to work with the parents. And, again, we talked about emphasis, and one of the big blades was family, plus 5 ride or die friends. So these kids are not living in isolation. They're living within family. So you kind of have to correct that pressure, because even if you work with the kid and reshape the kid's way of thinking, it's the parents that are putting the pressure on. So I put a lot of focus on working with the parents to understand the impact of that kind of pressure. And then with the kids, I work with the kids on understanding what the pressure is and on forming good coping skills in order to deal with it. And because they need those breaks. I'm not for year-round school. I'm not for year-round sports, because sports used to be the recreation, but it's no longer the recreation. So they need those breaks. And I try with each kid to find out where their happy space is, because it's different for every kid.
Seems like every parent thinks their kid's going to be, the next Patrick Mahomes or, whatever, the next Lamar Jackson or whatever. And it's just not that easy.
Yeah. And one of the things that the kids have to understand is they don't have to be that person. They don't, because that's excellence. They don't have to be that excellence. They can be their own excellent. And nobody does you better than you do. So, you are going to be excellent at being yourself if you invest in yourself.
Dr. Cheryl Bryant-Bruce here with us on the Dattitude podcast on this Wednesday. We've got a couple more minutes with you. So I would close with this. I would ask you this question. What is the most important thing that you would, what advice would you give to an athlete, maybe a college athlete or someone who's just come up and trying to be a professional and dealing with mental health? What would you do?
I would tell them to make sure that they took some time out every single day to invest in themselves, to really internalize and think about each day, what each day means to them, the blessing of having that day, and to look at the positives in the day. We so often get focused on the negatives. I want them to focus on the positives in that day and in their lives, and learn to walk in a walk of gratitude. And as long as you're walking in that walk of gratitude and humility, and staying strong in your spiritual core, whatever that means to you, they're going to be just fine.
Speaking of blessings, Dr. Bryant-Bruce, it was a blessing having you on here, the Dattitude podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, and good luck and enjoy the rest of the week here in New Orleans.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
out tomorrow, but
well, enjoy the rest of your day in New Orleans.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Now, where can I find this?
Dattitude podcast. It's on YouTube. It's Attitude with a D in front of it.
Okay. All right. I will look it up.
As many of you all know. Thank you so much. And we have our regulars. Hello, Hannah. Come on.
Hi,
have a
how
seat.
Are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How's your time here in New Orleans
Are
so
you
far?
kidding?
I know. It's not your first time here in New
Oh
Orleans.
my God, by far not my first time in New Orleans. I love New Orleans so much.
Hannah Storm here on the Data. Oh, yeah.
You don't have to appreciate that. It's all good.
We did want to talk about the awards that y'all are receiving here from the Legends of Charity.
Yeah.
And tell me how to pronounce your name. I don't want to mess it up. Shadyac. Okay. All right, let's start here. First of all, winning the Pat Summerall Award, and just talk about it a little bit. And what did you think when you first found out? Because I know, all of your colleagues who have won this in the past, it's got to be a big deal for you.
Yeah, it's so cool, really. Also, just being the second woman ever to win it is really amazing. And just Pat Summerall being such a force in the business, someone who we all try to emulate without success, because he's the greatest play-by-play man ever, which is amazing that he was,
without a doubt.
Great, crazy that he was a former player.
Yeah,
right.
New York
and
Giants.
did it and wasn't an analyst. He was like a play-by-play man. Just incredible. Golf, tennis, obviously football. And the fact that this award is given not just because of professional achievement, but also contributions in the world of charity and helping others. And that's always been like a very dual mission of me in my life. So I think this award is especially meaningful, you know.
Talk about the Hannah Storm Foundation and
yeah, it's incredible. It's awesome. And I mean, our dinner tomorrow night is raising money for St. Jude's, which is just so incredible. We have 500 people coming. It's going to be, I mean, you know, on Super Bowl weekend to get 500 people together, only St. Jude's could pull that off, right? And my foundation and the work that I've devoted myself to is also medical. So we do surgeries for children who are suffering from vascular anomalies. We do surgeries around the world. They're very complicated. They're very, very expensive. They are usually not paid for by insurance because it has a lot to do with the way a child is very disfiguring, a vascular anomaly. Yes. So I was born with port Weinstein, which basically looked like—
I didn't know that until I read about
that.
Yeah,
somebody like takes a glass of red wine and dumps it on your face and it never leaves. You know, that's kind of what it looks like.
With that as a child?
I had a lot of surgeries growing up. The technology was not there like it is today. So I had some pretty crude surgeries of, you know, trying to cut it out or tattoo it flesh color or whatever. They just didn't know. The laser technology was not there that it is today. So today we have micro laser technology, and I partnered with the top doctor in the world, a South African doctor who has now operates out of a hospital in New York and one in Berlin. So we can reach kids, you know, hopefully semi-close to where they live.
Right.
And we've been doing it since 2008, and it's wonderful. Now we've added breast cancer awareness and advocacy for people to be tested since I got cancer a year ago, and which all ties in with St. Jude's like really nicely too.
Dr. Shadyac, real quick. Okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
He's a money man. He is the genius behind.
Is there a way to get Dr. Shadyac on
Sure.
as well? So I'd like to have him on it.
Oh, sure. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. Oh, we'll do it. Okay, so we'll do our part and then you guys. Okay, perfect.
I'd like to ask you, you know, one thing that I thought was extra cool is that you're being presented by your husband, Dan Hicks. Who
I know.
I'm a huge golf fan.
Dan the man.
I think Dan is phenomenal.
Thank you. He is.
So that must be a pretty cool moment for you.
He is. All the guys at work were joking with me the other day. They're like, well, has Dan worked on his speech? And I'm like, I don't really know. And then my co-host, Jay Harris, said, how long have y'all been married? And I said 31 years ago. So he said 31 years to work on that speech.
That's right. He should just be able to walk up there and do it.
I'm like, yeah, so that's cool. And then Chris Berman is actually hosting the whole event, which is so fun to have Boomer doing that too.
And you are actually the second ESPN SportsCenter host to come on the show. Show number one, the first show this is show 342.
Okay.
Show number one back in 2021.
Yeah.
New Orleanian Stan Verrett was there.
Oh my gosh, Stan Verrett is the best. I mean, how is he not like walking around here now?
Like
the same thing. You know, I love that Stan has always really beat the drum for the great city of New Orleans, and he's just such a great advocate, you know, for the city and bringing that to the national stage. Kind of the way I feel about being from Houston.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm just one of the few people on TV that I'm like, go H-Town. You know.
Speaking of H-Town in Houston, the guy who has helped me throughout the last year immensely since we went live, Gabe Henderson, who is my director back there. He's not back there today, but he wanted me to ask you your thoughts on the Luka trade.
Oh my gosh, everybody wants to know. Isn't it great that we're talking about the NBA and it's like Super Bowl?
It's crazy. You don't think it was timed that? Well, I mean, the trade deadline was tomorrow, but you don't think it was timed that way?
No. But you know, I'm sure they appreciated it because you go from talking about shortening the game to you know, dominating the headlines in the second half of the season is going to be absolutely fascinating. I actually am one of the people that thinks that it was good for both teams.
You do?
Yeah. And I know a lot of people feel like, well, Dallas, you know, they sent away a player in his prime. But the one thing that you don't want to do is to be locked into a supermax contract with a player who may not be physically able to get everything out of that player that you can. So you look at, you know, what's happening in a couple other cities here in New Orleans. You guys could talk about that a little bit.
We could use a little help here in New Orleans.
Yeah, and I think that Nico Harrison, who built that team and they got to the finals, he built that team around Luka, but you know, they also saw that losing the finals was not a motivator to come back the next season in the best shape possible. And so had Nico Harrison, who wanted Anthony Davis specifically, and that's why he went straight to the Lakers. That's what he wanted. If this doesn't work out in the next 2 years, which I think they're going to have an excellent team in Dallas, if this doesn't work out, he still has the flexibility after Anthony Davis to keep this team on top because he is not locked into a supermax contract. Once you're locked into one of those deals, right, your flexibility on a business level, it just goes down, you know? And so I like the way he's thinking. I don't think it's a win now deal for Dallas. I think it's a win now and win later for Dallas. And I love it. I love it for the Lakers because for Jeannie Buss carrying on the tradition of her father, Dr. Buss, about the purple and gold, the tradition of excellence, bringing stars in, but having none of them be bigger than the team itself.
Right.
I love the sort of the message that it sent, and we love you and appreciate you, LeBron. We have allowed you to play with your son. We are going to look towards the future and with appreciating the present and everything that you've done. But we have a standard to uphold here with the purple and gold. And so I think it was a great, I really like it for both sides, to be honest.
Hannah Storm here on the Dattitude podcast on this Wednesday afternoon, presented by Evangeline Securities. Look, while we're talking about the NBA, what needs to be done to fix this Pelicans team? Every year we go into
we
go into this season. I said I wasn't going to talk much about the Pelicans today, but we went into this season thinking, okay, this is the year. DeJounte Murray's coming in here. It seemed like maybe you're just one player away. Is Zion going to finally be healthy? Can't get him and Brandon Ingram on the floor at the same time.
I know. I think that's a problem. I mean, and that's what I was saying, without, I mean, you took it there. So did I. But, if you look at Zion, if you look at Joel Embiid, if you look at players who have not been able to stay healthy, but yet, again, they're locked into these huge deals, you only have so much flexibility. And then you're left basically crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, in terms of the health of your tentpole player that you've invested all of this money in. So, I don't know, my friend. You need a football coach too here. So I'm guessing. You think Kellen Moore should just stay into town for that announcement Monday morning? Why get on a plane and go back to Philly? Why not just stay here?
What do you think about a 36-year-old? Sean McVay did it, and he was great at it.
Yeah, he was.
To be that, and Sean Payton, when he came here, he was 42, which is still a little bit of. But to be 36 years old and a head coach, that's and the older I get, that just seems so young.
Yeah, I know. And, obviously look at the Bengals did it,
that's true.
And I mean, these young coaches, I think, Green Bay also, I mean, listen, Kellen Moore has had a bevy of experience. And if I even just really look at, and obviously he was fantastic. And, Dallas they have a whole other set of issues. We can't even talk about them. But one of their issues was not scoring offensively. That was not an issue for them when Kellen Moore was there. But I just think that if you look at the Eagles and the decision they made after their bye week, they had an early bye week. So they were 2-2. They didn't look good really on either side of the ball. They just looked like, ooh, are these the same guys that tanked at the end of last season that were terrible? But during that bye week, they did a reset and they committed to the run. And that's a strong voice to say, you know what, we're going to do this. And I know we got these flashy receivers and I know we got all this other stuff, but we're going to commit to the run. And on the defensive side, obviously they just gelled under Vic Fangio, and that took a while under a new DC. But for Philly to get early in the season, have that reset and make that commitment and stick to it, and also have the wherewithal to sign Saquon Barkley when everybody was like, why did they give him all that money? He's a running back, blah, 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 blah. Well, ha, ha, ha.
Remember when he was holding it and the Giants wouldn't give him the money he wanted? You think they were
but also, I was hosting our free agency specials and everyone was like, wow, the Eagles sure paid Saquon a lot, top dollar. They didn't have to do that. Why did they? It was above market value. And I'm like, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? Same with Derrick Henry. So, I think he will be great. I think having a young coach, he's current. You want current, you want someone who can relate to the players, and you want someone who is fresh and let's get this thing up to speed. Let's get this thing into 2025, 26, 27. What offenses are looking like now? I think going with a young guy is tremendous. And we'll see what kind of staff. You got to be really smart with your staff that you build too. So we'll see what kind of staff he's able to lure here. But, he was kind of last guy standing. You guys took a while.
Yeah,
Come on.
That goes into my next question from the outside. Does it look as bad as it looks here in New Orleans, that to a lot of fans out there, a lot of people who watch this show, the Saints have egg on their face because not just because they're the last ones, but they're the last ones by a long way. I mean, what does it look like
I
from the
think that
outside?
egg, you can just put that, you can give that to Dallas.
Yeah.
You just give that.
I mean, it seems like they always have the egg, right?
They're like, well, how did y'all not know that, McCarthy wasn't coming back and
Right.
jump on somebody? And then but I think Schottenheimer's going to be good for them too. But yeah, I don't know. I think, what's great about New Orleans is all your team. Yeah, it is great. And your teams are flying under the radar. So you just got to think.
Yeah.
And the thing about the Saints, too, is such a good division, right? The division is winnable every year. I'm telling you.
It was so tough for us here.
I know.
LSU not making the postseason.
Brian Kelly.
Yeah,
you got my Notre Dame coach.
They're all over Brian Kelly. It was a whole nother season on Dennis Allen. Now what do?
Yeah.
The Pelicans start off on a 4-26 or whatever.
I know.
They do.
That's
So
sad. That makes me sad.
It's been a rough sports year here in New Orleans.
I'm
but we do
sorry,
have the
but you
Super Bowl.
got the Super
I'm like,
Bowl,
we do
so
have the
let's
Super Bowl.
go.
Yeah. What do you think about the Super Bowl? I mean, I know a lot of people are tired. We talked about this earlier on the Saints Insider Show, but a lot of people are tired of Kansas City and the Chiefs. But to me,
it's ridiculous.
I think the two best teams going into January with the Chiefs and the Eagles.
Yeah.
And they're here in New Orleans.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Isn't it?
I mean, really, like, what do you want? Nobody wants a winner. You were tired of the Patriots, and now we're like, wow, what's the greatest dynasty ever, in pro football? And the fact that, like, the Chiefs have a chance to make history is unbelievable, to win 3 straight Super Bowls. That's sustained excellence. I
mean, a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who is I think he's not even 28 years old yet.
Exactly.
To do what he's been.
He's going to be back here. He's going to be back at the Super Bowl.
I feel honored to be a part of greatness.
Yes. You have to. I think you have to sometimes just. Can we all take a deep breath and just enjoy what we're seeing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Instead of looking for the next or wanting something different or whatever, like just appreciate the era that you're in. I mean, and I've been able to covered Michael Jordan's whole career. Like, just sit back and appreciate Michael Jordan, appreciate Michael Phelps, appreciate Tiger Woods. Appreciate these incredible athletes in these eras while they exist, because someday they're not going to be here anymore. And you're having the joy of living through it, and they're not a boring team. Hello. They are super fun to watch. They're winning all these one-score games. The Eagles are supremely talented. It is a phenomenal dream matchup for the Super Bowl.
What matchup are you specifically looking for, the game inside of the game, when you watch Sunday?
Yeah.
What are you going to be looking for?
I'm really looking to see what Spags does. What kind
That's
of
exactly what we've been talking
what
about.
is he going to dial up for Saquon Barkley? How do you keep Saquon Barkley from breaking this game? Because it's one turn and he's off, and it's an explosive play. So I think you got to limit those explosive plays.
Yeah.
You really do, and you got to hopefully make Jalen Hurts, which he's capable of. No shade on Jalen Hurts, but try to make him beat you with his arm, and see where that's the easy strategy against the Eagles. No one's really been able to do it, but I think you have to do everything you can without totally sacrificing the rest of your defense. You're going to have to, have unbelievable gap integrity, and you're just going to have to try to limit him, because
and you can't even focus on him because of Jalen Hurts.
But you have to, again, like when they say do your job, and when I'm talking about like gap integrity, like do exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and don't get crazed by all that eye candy and like everything else that's going on, because it's a huge test for Spags and a huge test for that defense.
We would think it'd be cool. Devontae Smith is actually from Amite, Louisiana, which is about 50 miles north of the city.
Oh yeah,
so I
that's
covered
right.
him in high school.
Oh, cool. He's amazing.
His final game was in the state championship in that Superdome.
Yeah.
And he was phenomenal. So
you know what I love about both these teams is anybody could be the star, really. And I know we focus on Mahomes and Barkley and blah blah blah. But I mean, if you are wearing a red Chiefs uniform, you could be called upon to do the biggest. You could be Samaje Perine at the end of the AFC Championship game, right?
Right.
Or Spags gonna dial up some blitz you didn't see all game. Like you could literally be that guy. Same thing for the Eagles. The Eagles are so deep and talented on both sides of the ball. Literally anybody at any moment could be. It could be Devontae. You know what I mean? So, that's what's so cool about these two teams. You're looking at like incredible coaches, incredible assistants, and the talent on the field is insane. So I'm so excited.
All right, before we let you go, I know people have asked you, but I've got to get a prediction from you. What's your prediction for the game?
Chiefs.
You taking the Chiefs?
Yeah. I am. The experience. Yep, the experience.
We've talked on
and
this
Mahomes magic. And if it's close at all, Chiefs.
We've talked on this show for 2 years. Never bet against God. And
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is God.
And the Chiefs. That's right. There you go. You can't. I'm not going to bet or pick against the Chiefs until they give me a reason to.
What's your favorite?
And they haven't.
What's your favorite thing to eat in New Orleans?
I would say oyster po' boy, followed closely by grilled oysters, followed down with a French 75. How about that?
That sounds really good. Make sure it's Mardi Gras season, so make sure you get yourself a piece of king cake.
Oh, we had that last night.
Oh, you had that last
We've
night.
already had that last night.
All right, well, you can never do too much.
And all my friends were like, "What is this little baby? What's this?" I'm like, "I'll tell you later." We had a king cake last night.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Now, I would like to talk to you. Tell me one more time, Rick.
Okay, now the camera's going to go.
Okay, the
it's going to be all three of us, or you're going to go those two?
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you, Hannah.
Okay.
Now, tell us a little bit. You're also being awarded the Legends for Charity. Just talk a little bit about the event.
The event is going to be held tomorrow at the Hyatt. We're expecting over 500 people to honor Hannah, and we're going to raise over $1 million to support the life-saving mission of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
You know, I saw that this award has been since 2006. Tell me a little bit about how did it all get started almost 20 years ago?
It all started with one man, Pat Summerall, the most iconic sports broadcaster in history, right? And Pat loves St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We established this award. We give it out every single year. Last year, we gave it to Greg Olson. Hannah, Erin Andrews is another one. Those are the two women that have received this award. Tony Romo. It's people like that. Chris Berman has received it. Yeah. He's going to be the MC tomorrow night. And all of the money that's raised, and we've raised over $13 million. $13 million. All that money goes to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
Just the excitement of having this at the same time as the Super Bowl and in the Super Bowl host city. What's that mean?
It means a ton, man. It's the awareness, okay? So think about the whole world is focused on the Super Bowl, focused on this year on New Orleans. The awareness that's created about this mission, it allows us to stay true to our foundational promise that no family will ever receive a bill from St. Jude, not for treatment, travel, housing, or food, so mom and dad can focus on getting their child better. I mean, that's what this is about, raising money, raising awareness, so that if, God forbid, mom or dad hear those devastating words that their child has cancer, they know where to turn.
And I'm old, and I remember this, and it was started by Danny Thomas, and going back to the days of Danny Thomas, and it still lives by that same legend and the same mentality.
It does. You know, I'm blessed to be able to tell you that my father was one of the founders. My father worked alongside Danny Thomas. As a little kid, I grew up around Danny Thomas. And so, yeah, we still live by his ethos, and he was a visionary, and he cared so deeply about people. And, you know, I reflect all the time about the fact that he intentionally placed St. Jude in Memphis, Tennessee, which was a segregated city at that time, because he wanted to address healthcare inequity, primarily in the South here in the United States. And from day one, we've accepted kids from all races and taken away all the economic circumstances.
And if someone wanted to donate and give money to St. Jude's, how would they do that?
They just go right to our website. That's stjude.org.
Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thanks for having me, man. Good to see you.
Man, this day is starting off fantastic. I'm enjoying talking to some people that, you know, I mean, one thing about the show is we talk to a lot of people that we talk to on a regular basis. It's great to talk to some people that we don't know that get to talk to. One of our regulars is about to come on the show, by the way, Larry Holder. So I'm sorry if I missed some of your comments. I was really trying to focus on our guest. Yeah, there's no doubt, Charles. You love to have grilled oysters from Drago's. There's no doubt about it. Cali, go Lady Tigers. There's no doubt about that. So we're ready. The man, the myth, the legend's about to come in. If you got comments for questions for Larry Holder.
You're just a revolving door. Look at you, man.
It is a revolving door.
Oh, my
man.
goodness.
Super Bowl Radio Row. They never told me it'd be this crazy, but here we are.
It is crazy. I think way back when I was doing radio with Gus Kattengill, when we first started the Sports Hangover. It was during the Super Bowl run, and yeah, we just all of a sudden we had a show for like 3 weeks, and then we're in Miami for Radio Row. It's chaotic. Yes.
It's not what I expected. I don't know what I expected, but it probably wasn't this. So it's cool to have Hannah Storm on just now.
Yes,
All
yes.
right, well,
she's cooler than me, but hey, we'll just
Yeah,
y'all have to settle for good
well,
old Larry.
What I like about the show is we have a diverse group of guests.
Good old regular Larry you got to deal with.
The old regular Larry. That's what you have. So Dave DeCorbier, we could have got the whole gang back together.
It's funny.
For the weekend.
He called me because he's still doing the Weekend Geek.
Right,
of course, now I'm doing collectibles. He called me right away.
The world of geek.
Yes, I am Mr. Geek to you.
All right, well, put on your NFL writer hat back on. I know you took it off for a couple of weeks. It doesn't have any dust on it yet. So we had the interesting topic that I want to look at today and talking about Saints-wise. And we'll get into the Super Bowl part of it in a minute. But Saints-wise, we've talked a lot about Kellen Moore all week, and it's starting to look more and more like, I think we'd both say is 90% chance or so that he's going to be the next coach of the New Orleans Saints. Want to look at the end of who would he think of bringing in as a coordinator? Now, you know the world of names in the NFL who potential coordinator candidates. The ones I've been hearing, potentially Doug Nussmeier as OC, potentially Brandon Staley as DC. Are these names you're hearing? And also, what do you think are other possibilities? Well, so many coaches that he could bring in have already been taken.
I think that's part of what people are wondering. And I'm not bringing any new names to the table. I just don't know. But those names that you mentioned, I've heard Nussmeier a lot.
So have I.
So that would make sense. And also, look, Brandon Staley, it's not like they don't have a relationship because it's funny how roles would switch, though. And also, I think it would help Kellen Moore in and of itself if you have another person on staff who's had head coaching experience. I think that would be a plus. Now, Saints fans might say, well, Brandon Staley wasn't very good with the Chargers. Well, it is what it is. But
again, it's different when you're a DC. It's
right.
the same with Dennis Allen.
Yes.
We Saints fans have dogged on Dennis Allen forever. But the fact is that he was a good defensive coordinator when that's what his job was.
Absolutely. And look, I tried my best on opening night to get Kellen Moore to crack. I asked if he had a real estate agent. I asked if he was scoping out the Superdome, if he could get used to this. I asked if he came prepared to answer all these Saints questions. I asked if he was going to go scope out. I asked if he was going to go scope out the Saints facility while he just happens to be there all week. Peel off and go.
Did you get all those questions in?
I got them all in, and he's press conference savvy already.
He was ready.
He was ready for it. So yeah, but yeah, I think.
How did he answer? Did you check out the houses question?
He just said no. Simply said no. I don't have a real estate agent. But of course, he knows I'm trying to get him to crack.
Right. I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah. So, again, press conference savvy. You certainly sell half truths, or he might have someone else doing the real estate stuff for him. Not maybe his wife has one and he doesn't. But yeah, look, I think it's all signs are pointing to that. And does he even catch the plane back to Philadelphia?
Why would you?
Right. Exactly.
You could literally. The show, we're scheduled to do a show Monday at 11 a.m. They could be announcing Kellen Moore at the same time we're doing a show, which would mean I'm postponing the show.
Right.
But, I don't think it's out of the question that Kellen Moore is introduced as the Saints head coach on Monday.
I don't think he'll be introduced.
I don't think it will happen, but I don't think it's out of the question.
But it could be, the news could come out that happens.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's out of the question at all.
Yeah, and so when you look at his resume, and this is something I asked him at opening night about. You could see it as a minus that he's had a bunch of jobs with different teams, but you could also see it as a plus because he's had to adapt with the personnel that he's had and be diverse offensively. And you and me have talked about this. Look, he's coaching Jalen Hurts, who's different from Justin Herbert, who's different from Dak Prescott. They're all three unique, I would say, even though Herbert and Prescott are more similar than, say, Jalen Hurts. But I do think having that diversity can be a plus when it comes here. And I asked questions yesterday to Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, both of the tackles for the Eagles. And both had some strong endorsements of Kellen Moore. And, the question is, can he command a room? And I think that's the biggest question that everyone wants to know, just because you see him and He's not the biggest guy, and he's not the loudest guy in the room. And look, both of those guys said that that's true. But Lane Johnson simply pointed to both lobes of his head when I said, how does he lead a room? And he just did this.
Yeah.
His mind, because you hear what he's having to say, and everyone buys in. And look, they spoke very glowingly of him. Now, how does that translate with a team that's not as successful and don't have the quality of players? I think we're about to find out.
Yeah, and I didn't get to run this. I ran out of time yesterday. We were on the air for 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I ran out of time.
Yeah, how's that happen?
I have no idea, but I did. But we had a 1 minute clip from Nick Sirianni that I didn't get to play yesterday, but I'll have to redo it and I'll play it on Friday's show. But Sirianni is also, I mean, you don't want to lose your coordinator, but you can tell when a head coach is feeding you BS. You've been doing this long enough. I've been doing this long enough. But he was truly glowing about Kellen Moore. You can tell that he means a lot to this team.
There's no question. I mean, it's one thing you could say, well, why did the Eagles offense get better? Well, they got Saquon Barkley,
right.
But you also got to know how to use him. I mean, that's the thing. And so, and be flexible in that, okay, do I want to throw the ball all the time, or do I adapt and run it like they do? And I think that's been the case, because you look at the Chargers. I mean, you were relying heavily on Justin Herbert. With the Cowboys, their run game is not, I mean, when he was there, they actually had a viable run game, but that changed, and, you were leaning on Dak. So to be flexible, I think that's a huge thing. And, but it's not like Nick Sirianni, you could say, well, his track record is mixed with assistants. I mean, two of them are head coaches. Two of them, though, last year he fired both of them, and now he's got two that are gangbusters again.
And look, I get on Sirianni and say he's just not my kind of coach or whatever, but if you make it to the Super Bowl twice in 3 seasons, maybe I got to get off your back a little bit. I mean,
what? Hopefully we're recording this.
Maybe it's Radio Row. I don't know what it is.
Would you say the same thing if that was Dan Campbell?
Oh, God, no.
I can't believe
I can only go so far, I don't know. Maybe they put something in the king cake last night. I don't know what it was. Whatever it is, it's crazy. Brandon Staley, and look, I feel the same way about Brandon Staley. I mean, he did the same kind of moves as Dan Campbell and Nick Sirianni. But again, as a DC, if he were to be the guy that was DC, one thing I was talking about earlier on the Insider Show with Zach is that I think they do need a head coach. I mean, having a head coach to come in here and be a coordinator, it's not just the fact that he can help call the defense or whatever, but it'd be to help Kellen Moore. Hey, I can show you. These are the things that go on your day. There's so many different weird things that go on a day-to-day life of a head coach that you can't possibly know about if you've never done it before.
Right. I mean, you're the CEO, and you have to delegate. And I think that's one thing that the great ones are able to do. And, yeah, Kellen's going to have far more obligations than he's used to. And also, it's not like Kellen doesn't know Brandon Staley. I think that's the key. I mean, they've worked together,
obviously.
And they did. It's not like Brandon fired Kellen. I mean, they just all left because of what happened. So it's not like obviously if they're gonna if that's the candidate and they hire him, I mean, to me it adds up. But look, I just we know how frustrated this fan base is, and then you see that pair, and you're thinking, all right, can they be any better than they were with the Chargers? And I think that's a viable question. I mean, I think all the questions with Kellen Moore. He's 35. You got. I mean, look, he's played against Derek Carr. Like, I mean, that's
insane. When I looked that up. And by the way, Kellen Moore whipped his butt. So,
when he was at Boise, they were rolling.
They were 50-3.
Yes, they were rolling under Kellen Moore.
Two-time All-American, which I didn't realize until I started doing some research on him. But that's an interesting thing, though. And what do you think about if he does come in here? I mean, he's almost forced to keep. I mean, you and I have talked about this before, but he's almost forced to keep Derek Carr for a year, right? I mean, you got to have the bridge. I mean, you're not just gonna. I mean, I'm not trying to bring. Every time I bring this up, it ends up being a 15-minute conversation. I don't want it to be, but you're not gonna roll with the rat. I mean, you're gonna want to have an established quarterback.
You want to try to win games,
right?
You're not going to do that, especially on the current roster, with anyone else other than Derek Carr. And again, what are the options that are out there? And is it Sam Darnold? Are you going to go get Kirk Cousins? Are you going to go get Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
Are you going to draft someone? And I brought this up to you. I think the last time we spoke, I brought up someone like Jackson Dart and like Will Howard, and I'm sure that does not get everyone enamored if you're going to take him at 9.
I just think there's just too many. I think there's too many things they need to do. I mean, I'm just look. You got to build up through the trenches. And we're talking with Mike Detillier yesterday, and Mike was talking about 24 of his top 75 players in the draft this year are defensive linemen, which means go and draft yourself an offensive lineman, whether it be a tackle guard. I mean, you're not going to draft a guard that high probably, but trade down if you can, whatever. But go get an offensive lineman in the first round, and then you go and get a defensive lineman in the second round. I mean, I just think build the trenches. We're going to have another guest on while you're here, by the way.
Obviously, we know that adds up. But yeah, when you look at what they have so many needs. I mean, that's what you have to do. There's no question. I think that and quarterback, when you look at it, is not as big of a need.
What do you? Go ahead. You can just talk to me. It's okay. Okay. All right, Larry. I'm gonna.
You see me all the time.
Yeah,
it's all good.
If I can talk to you again soon, I'm gonna text you.
All good. You see me all the time.
I'm gonna text you after the show.
You're good. You're good. I have less fun work I got to go do.
All right. Come have a seat, Kyle.
There you go. I'll take it.
Hey, BJ, nice to meet you. BJ, nice to meet you. Kyle, have a seat.
Passing out some beads.
Oh, well, I'm going to take it. If you're passing out beads, come on. We'll like some love.
All right, you sit down with us.
Come on, squeeze on in. Kyle Turley here on the Dattitude podcast. BJ, tell me your last name.
Gannon.
Okay, and tell me your name, sir.
Mike Smith.
Mike Smith.
Yes, sir.
All right, now I'll let you know on something. I
Yes, sir.
don't usually do the fan part of this very often because I've been a sports writer for 34 years. But I got to tell you, I have 2 Saints jerseys in my history.
Uh-oh.
One's Drew Brees, and the other one's Kyle Turley.
No way.
And you signed it.
Man, I appreciate
It's on my shoulder. Yeah. It's
That's
Kyle
awesome,
Turley and
brother.
Drew Brees.
I appreciate that.
Talk a little bit about, first of all, you got a foundation. Talk a little bit about what we got going on here.
Yeah, no, I'm working with BJ and Mike, in the Sierra Delta group. Over the years, we've had opportunities to connect. We played football together and flag football games that have been organized. We're bringing those back next year. But Sierra Delta is just one of those groups that has continued to be here year after year, pushing forward these, veteran initiatives and the opportunities that these guys are continuing to find to give back to their community and rally all the veterans out here around causes like, getting dogs to people. The little things that are out here to be able to get companies to support that, and be able to have guys like BJ give back to his community and help people rally around getting the support they need through these animals. And then the community that's developed around these programs is pretty cool. They've gone out of their way to really develop something that, people really take advantage of these programs. They're going to meet a lot of great people and their lives are going to continually get better every day.
How do you do that, Kyle? How do you go around and get people to be aware of this?
Just continue to come to places like this. The Super Bowl is an amazing opportunity. Taking advantage of obviously the local opportunities that you have, and then your friends and family and just people to continue to spread this awareness, put it on your social medias. But every year we have this awesome opportunity to come to Radio Row at the Super Bowl and participate in this media event and get the word out around the country in like one day. It's awesome.
Mike, tell us your part about it.
Yeah, so because of BJ, I'm an ambassador of Sierra Delta. We kind of, we're spreading this together. My story is I didn't grow up with any animals. I didn't grow up with any dogs. And it wasn't until I met BJ years and years ago when we was playing football against Kyle here that I realized I even needed a service dog. You know what I mean? Like when you think of service dog, you think of an amputee, somebody who can't get around,
right.
Somebody who needs that physical help. And I wasn't one of those. But after being in the military army for 24 years, just like NFL, that's your identity. When you start to spiral, when I started to spiral, trying to find my new self, it was my dog. It was my service dog. I mean, they're loyal. Their loyalty is unparalleled. You got to remember, to put it in perspective, when you see a homeless person, you see 9 times out of 10 they have a dog.
Right.
And those dogs are super loyal to them, and they're super well behaved. They love their owner no matter what. No matter what's going on, they're super loyal to that situation, and that's what I have in my service dog.
What's it meant for you to help be an ambassador and part of all this?
It means everything because it changed my life. You know what I'm saying? And I think you're less of a person if you go through a triumph or a trial and you don't reach back and show somebody else how you did it. And so that's my job. I just want to go out here, spread the word with BJ. Got phenomenal people like Kyle, who's like a phenomenon, you know what I mean? So why wouldn't I, you know?
BJ, tell us your side.
All came from, I served in the United States Marine Corps. I was an infantryman. I got injured Thanksgiving night of 2004. My career came to an end, and I did all those stereotypical things of, drinking too much, getting in trouble with the law. So I went through a divorce, a bankruptcy, facing DUI charges. And I thought maybe it was better if that bomb would have killed me. And I started rationalizing that depressive mindset and saying, like, my kids be better without me, family's better without me, work's better without me. But I got to my dog. And this dog I got is an Old English Bulldog that I got on my first convalescent leave from Walter Reed after being injured. It was an Old English Bulldog. I'm a boy from Georgia, joined the Marines, so I love a Bulldog, right? Spent $800 on Craigslist to go find this dog. Knowing what I know about dogs now, I shouldn't have done it that way. But that dog, man, I mean, he had no special breeding, no special training, and his only talents were like, getting slobber in a place you thought was physically impossible to get slobber into, and then clearing the room with his farts. But he was my dog no matter what. He never put me on a waiting list, always there for me. When I got down to him, I realized that if I quit, if I check out, he's going to end up in a shelter and end up like the other 800,000 healthy, trainable, and adoptable dogs we kill every year in this country. And that was enough for me to pull my own head on my ass, or butt, whichever way I can say. All right, just pull my own head on my ass and start putting one foot in front of the other, no matter if it's the flesh and blood foot given to me by God or the steel, carbon fiber and steel foot given to me by science. Like, I could handle it, right? I can improvise, adapt, overcome. I'm a United States Marine, for crying out loud. And it doesn't end just because we take the uniform off.
I got to tell you guys, all three of y'all, that my dad was a Vietnam vet. He passed away a year ago yesterday.
Oh.
So it's been something that's been on my mind. So to have y'all doing the things that y'all are doing, and vets are having issues in all sorts of ways. And he had his own issues when,
sure.
I mean, you come back from a place like that, you're gonna have your issues.
Yeah, for sure.
But and I never thought about it before, but he always had a dog. Yeah. I mean, always, since I was a little kid. If one, and as one was getting older, all of a sudden we'd have two dogs, as the other one's getting older, to transition or whatever. But it kind of, and I never really thought about it before, but he always had a dog.
And that's why we allow every veteran to join. Like, we have ID Me integrated right into it. You don't have to be broken. You don't have to be disabled. I don't need to see no doctor's note. They don't even get trained on when to give a dog in the first place, right? I just need to know what you want to do with your dog day in and day out, what you're willing to show up for. And then we help you find that trainer. We give you up to $3,500 to then accomplish that mission. And then we reward you for just showing off on what you're doing and how you're getting better, whether it's improving your life or just enhancing your life, right? But let's have fun with this. Sierra Delta stands for service and dogs. The Life Buddy program is everything about dogs. Life Force is about personal development and still being of service. And the Lifeblood is how we can partner with people to raise the funds that we need to, so that at the very least, this country can thank a veteran by ensuring that they have access to at least $3,500 and professional dog training grants, so that they can have their Life Buddy that's trained to meet their individual needs and their lifestyle. It's that simple.
Kyle, BJ, and Mike here on the Dattitude podcast. Kyle Turley, before y'all take off, I got to ask you, look, I know you still follow the Saints. Your career is, after you left here, you went to play for St. Louis. But what do you think about what's going on, this whole coaching search thing going on there?
Hey, man, I'm waiting for the call. I'm right here. When I'm down, I'm ready to sign the contract.
You would bring fire.
Win another
You
Super
would
Bowl.
bring fire to this franchise.
Hey, I was just saying, they know what I could do. I know Mickey does.
Do you have any interest in coaching seriously at all?
I've put my name in the hat. I had my agents, everybody call and tell everybody I'm ready. I mean, they gave Jeff Saturday the Colts job. Like, what do you think's going to happen if I'm the head coach?
What do
you think's going to happen on game day?
What would Kyle Turley? I know the answer to this, but I got to ask him.
Anybody
I got to ask anyway.
What's going to happen?
What would
the
Kyle
team is
Turley
going to do?
bring?
What is the team going to do, right?
Yeah.
Because you know what I bring, right? At the end of the day. And I was able to rally those locker rooms more than anybody ever has. I could do it at any moment,
You missed the game?
It just happens.
Do you miss
Of course, man. Playing the game is just special, man. There's nothing like it. When you're running out of a tunnel where there's almost 100,000 people screaming for you, and you know that they see you, you know what I mean? Because you're one of those guys that, you've not just been a part of the team, you've gone over and above to be more to that in the community, really be a part of the people and body that team, that Saints. I got my fleur-de-lis, they're everywhere, right? They're all over me. And, that was just something that I could bring to the table that, of course, I know I could do it as a coach. I've done it as a coach. I did it,
What would you do for a guy like Trevor Penning, who
I got a lot of flag football trophies.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. I got 3 plays for you. That's it.
You might be all you need.
That was all we needed. Goosed everybody by halftime.
But what would you do for a guy like Trevor Penning, who struggled? He got a little bit better last year, but maybe, at that right tackle, he was a left tackle. He struggled coming into the NFL. He's trying to transition to right tackle. What would you do for a guy like Trevor Penning?
I'd hire Kyle Turley as my offensive line coach and show him what he needs to do.
Y'all
man.
hearing this?
It's a horrible coaching out here, man.
Y'all
I'm sorry.
hearing
No, I'm
this?
just kidding. No, man. Big John Benton, he's a great O-line coach. He was with me in St. Louis. And, I don't know what the rest of the staffs, everything, what's going to happen here moving forward. But, you've got the talent. Guys like that have that ability. That's why they brought him here. At the end of the day, I had an offensive line coach named Dick Stanfeld who believed in one thing.
Him well.
He believed in one thing: do whatever it take. Do whatever it take. That all we're gonna say, you Kyle. All we're gonna say, you Kyle. You bite him in the balls. You take it on the knee. You take it whatever he do. You take him and you throw him around. Do whatever it take. Do whatever it take. Okay. Whatever it take. That's it.
Mike, how far away are the Saints from being successful?
Man, I just think there are a couple of pieces, man, to be honest with you. So I think we'll see. Like he said, we'll see what happens. They hire Kyle, then that's the fix.
I mean, the Saints, man, y'all got a culture, right? This is the South. This is where football is king, right? Y'all just got to bring it together. That's all there is to it.
Maybe we need a couple Bulldogs.
Man, let's get after it. That's why I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. They got more SEC players than the Kansas City Chiefs.
BJ, Kyle, Mike, I thank y'all so much for coming on the show, man.
Sir,
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks very much. And tell one last word about the
SierraDelta.com, please.
That's right.
There's a lot of vets chiming in. You're all welcome to join. Get in there, help us out. And if you want to help us provide more grants, donate, please. We need that. We're going to do 300 guaranteed this year. Our goal is try to get 10,000 veterans annually into professional dog training by 2030. We can do it if we get everybody after us. Just like we fixed Katrina, just like we fixed ourselves after everything else. NOLA, you guys know what it's about.
Absolutely.
You know how to come together and make a community and get things
solved. In my opinion, no one deserves help more than a vet who needs it. That's just my opinion. And that's
I appreciate that.
Thank y'all guys.
All right,
very
thank
much.
you.
We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Man,
Can we
it's
do a pick all together?
absolutely. Man, it's been a whirlwind here on the Dattitude podcast on this Wednesday afternoon, and I almost said morning because we used to doing morning. But y'all want to take a picture?
Yeah, see a picture.
Come on in. Come on, take a picture. Be happy to have one. Thank y'all.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank y'all.
If you're listening to the audio only version, it's okay if you get a little breaks here and there, but it's been a whirlwind. I mean, you one thing about Radio Row that I didn't know is, like, I thought when my vision of how it worked is you went around and you got your own guests. Okay, you went and tried to find guests here. You went and tried to find guests. No, the way it's worked, except for like my regulars and the people who come on the show, and Dave DeCorbier, D Squared, remember, Stan, he's on the other side of the wall. You want to come say 2 words? Come on over, man. Why not? Y'all remember when I used to have D Squared back on an audio pod back in the day? He hasn't been on the live show. Come over to this. He hasn't been on the live show, so
2 words.
Sit down. Sit down. Dave DeCorbier here on the Dattitude podcast presented by Evangeline Securities. We miss our man D Squared. You know, the Week in Geek is rolling from what I understand.
Man, I got a 5 share, bro.
It's got a 5 share.
5 shares.
You got to check out the Week in Geek on Sunday. Is it 7 o'clock? Sunday. It's on W.
99.5 WRNO.
You got the voice. While you're here, tell me what you think about this whole Saints mess.
Which mess? We thought that
The coaching mess.
archdiocese?
No.
So
Oh,
the
no.
coaching mess.
Oh, no, not that mess.
You got to clarify.
Yeah, you're
brother.
right. I'm sorry. We did that mess Monday. We talked about it for 5 minutes, and that's all I'm talking about.
So we got jilted for a Jets job.
You did?
We got jilted for
no job.
No job, and so I don't know. We're
So
still
what the
waiting
hell's
after the
gonna-
Super Bowl, right?
What the hell's going to happen if Kellen Moore says, you know what? I don't know if I want this job or not. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen because I've been saying I got to eat paper on a live show if Kellen Moore doesn't take this job. So I said if McCarthy or Kellen Moore didn't take the job, I got to eat live paper, and I don't want that to happen. What?
I do.
Yeah, I know you do. So does everybody else. But what the hell's going on? I mean, why is it taking this long?
I guess 2 words: cap space.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. You're looking at a rebuild. You're looking at so much money in the cap. I mean, that's just look. I used to think that your boy was really good at managing the cap and like, oh, he's really good. He always comes in late and locks up these contracts. But that can has been kicked down the road since the 7 and 9 seasons.
That son of a bitch is rusty.
Ooh, you could curse?
Well, to some
Sorta.
extent. Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Don't tell me that,
Yeah,
Derry.
just a little bit. Yeah.
I'm good. I'm FCC regulated in my head.
Oh man, when you said F, I was like,
they've
getting
been
worried.
kicked down. I mean, the can has been kicked down the road way too long, way too far, and now we're looking at what can we do? I mean, we can't do anything. We got to go and do like old Belichick and get as many draft picks as we possibly can. And just get a bunch of randos from the college roles and just start building from there.
You know,
because we got no money. We broke.
But that's kind of what happened back 20 years ago, right? I mean, it's just, I mean, now they did have some people, they did have more money back then and they were able to sign some free agents. But I mean, really, they built around Drew Brees. And I think the future of quarterback is not on this team right now, in my opinion.
Oh, finally, you've come to Jesus and said Carr is garbage.
No, I didn't. That's not what I'm saying at all. I know you.
Carr is
I know.
garbage.
Everybody thinks Carr. Most of the people watch this show.
Yeah, but I've thought it before he was even a Saints player. Remember back in the day?
Oh, that's
I
right.
got
You
so
did.
mad.
You really
because
did.
I'm
I
like,
forgot
if
about
we
that.
get Carr, because I'd been dogging him like overpaid.
I forgot about
freaking
that.
Yeah, since he was playing for the Raiders. I've hated that dude, and every game I'm just like, yay. I mean, I've always been the Taysom train conductor, but I have come to Jesus and realized that, well, as much as I love Taysom, yeah, he was not the quarterback of the future. I will admit that, but
that's why you
he's
were
still a
pissed about
dynamic
Carr.
player, and he's a more dynamic player than freaking Carr. So I'm glad to see that you finally come around.
No, I just think he's the bridge to the next quarterback. I don't feel the same way that a lot of people out there feel. And I think it's going to be interesting if Kellen Moore does come in here, because I think Kellen Moore is a great offensive line. What's going to happen if, okay? What's going to happen if, I'm not saying it's going to happen. What happens if the Saints turn things around, Carr stays healthy, and I say Jet.
This is great. I love these hypotheticals.
When I say turn things around, I mean like realistically. I don't mean they're going to go 12-5 and win the Super Bowl. I mean they go 9-8, they go 10-7, they win this crappy division, and Derek Carr and throws for 3,700 yards. What are they going to do then? That'd be interesting.
Who the hell is he going to throw the ball to?
Oh, you don't think Olave's coming back? You think his head's too banged up to come back? Rashid Shaheed's not coming back?
Dude, look, I'm nervous about a lot of these injuries, man. I mean, look, Carr hung a lot of dudes out to dry too. I mean,
oh Lord, you blaming that on Carr too?
Look, some of
Good
them,
Lord.
I don't make him a scapegoat, but there were a few plays where I'm just like, really, dude? When you wait half a second beat in this league, I mean, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
I mean, people can close the gap that quickly. Look, I'm just kind of complaining really because of the injury situation. But I mean, really, we don't have any backup behind that. I mean, there's nobody there. I mean, the cupboard is bare. What about AK? Is he coming back? I mean, I'm fairly sure he is. He wants to stay as a Saint, but I mean, Kamara's he's one guy. What can one guy do?
Well, he's Alvin Kamara. He could do. But I mean, I gotta give him. You want to talk about Alvin Kamara? I gave him a lot of grief last year because I'm like, this dude's about to turn 30. Yeah, I mean, and I know he got hurt, but I think it's probably hurt out of why do I want to play for this team, and I don't blame him at all because before that, he was looking like the old Alvin Kamara.
He was. Well, and look, to his credit though, at least he gets it and he gets us. Because I mean, he was just like, I'm sorry, y'all. The fans deserve better. I mean, you know, how often? I mean, Jim Moore would have never said that.
He would have said woulda, coulda, shoulda.
He'd been like, what? What are you talking about?
Playoffs.
Playoffs.
All right. So lastly, all right, Super Bowl prediction. Are you one of the people who are sick and tired of the Chiefs, or you just want the best team here and they're the best team? I
want both teams to have fun. No,
Okay.
Honestly, I don't care. I really don't. I mean, I hate the Eagles.
You're
I
gonna
hate
have
the
Weekend
Eagles.
Geeks can be coming on right like halftime of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm going to be pre-recording that. Just
okay,
FYI.
all right.
Yeah, I'm not doing
So
a live
instead of
show during the
Kendrick
Super Bowl.
Lamar,
That's crazy talk, bro.
We should listen to the Weekend Geek instead of watching Kendrick Lamar.
Maybe.
All right,
Everybody will be in the bathroom. But no, I mean, with the Chiefs, I think it'd just be fun to have a three-peat, but I really don't care. I really don't care. I know it's an awful thing to say that I don't care about the Super Bowl, but I mean, I'm a
you
Saints
care about
fan.
the game, but you don't care who wins.
Right. I'm a Saints fan through and through. I'm just kind of like, yay, Super Bowl. You know.
All right. Well,
you're welcome. Another riveting performance by D Squared from the Weekend.
Well, look, but I'm not gonna let you leave without giving me a prediction.
I think the Chiefs will win, and I will completely discount the whole referee stuff. I mean,
That's
look,
a bunch of horse hockey.
I mean, look, there's so much stuff.
Yeah, that's
like,
horse hockey. That's not real.
even my brother is always like, "Oh, it's fixed." I'm like, "Bro, it's not fixed.
Yeah,
it's not fixed.
Yeah.
Just simmer down now."
If you think it's fixed, go make you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Speaking of a lot of money, I got one of the VP Caesar's about to come on.
Well,
thank you,
peace out,
D-Square.
bro.
David DeCorbier here on the Dattitude podcast. Come on. I tell you, it's a rolling. Oh man, wow, that's great. That's fantastic. Here it comes. Vice President of Trading and lead odds maker for Caesars Sportsbook. Have a seat. Craig Mucklow am I pronouncing your name correctly?
I've been called worse.
That's good to know. Well, we call a lot of people a lot of things here on this show, but glad to have you here. What's going on down at Caesars? It must be. This is as exciting as it gets, right? Super Bowl week in the host city, and you've got a spot right down the street,
and a beautiful spot.
Yeah,
I mean the company's done a real good job.
It is a beautiful spot.
I got my first look at it yesterday. The book's fabulous. The casino's great. Just the choice of food options. Just whoever did the imaging and the hard work did a great job.
Well, my wife she's in the restaurant food sales business. She's a VP for a national company, but out of here in New Orleans. And she just been raving over what's going on with the restaurant aspect of Caesars, and they need to check it out if they haven't already.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a whole, I was looking at the restaurants before I flew in from Vegas. I'm like, I'm only here till Friday. There's not enough choice.
Yeah, you can't fill it all in.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about my first question to you is an interesting one. I've gotten a couple emails about how much is being bet on the game, and they think it could be up to $1.35 billion is the number I saw this morning, which is just an insane number to me. Just talk about how does this year compare to maybe so far, at least, the past couple Super Bowls?
It helps being in a legalized state. So last year, the Super Bowl was in Las Vegas, Nevada, and that eclipsed the handle record for Super Bowls in that state. We've got exceptionally passionate fans in New Orleans. We hope it'll break the record again for this state.
Right.
So it'll be up there. And it helps having a marquee matchup between two tremendous teams. And the more wagering options that we have, people want to bet more, so there's more options. But you don't have to be a 4-figure, 5-figure better. You can have $5, $10. Just have fun.
And that's what it's supposed to be in the grand scheme.
Exactly.
Craig Mucklow, lead odds maker and vice president of trading at Caesars Sportsbook, is with us here on the Dattitude podcast on this Wednesday afternoon, presented by Evangeline Securities. Now, I want to ask you, one thing I've thought was interesting, and before my podcast turned into this live thing, we did a show called Bayou Bets, and we were partners with Caesars actually for quite a bit. I did our live show from Caesars, and so I love what's going on over there. One thing I found with this spread, and it came out, it hasn't really moved all that much. It's pretty much stayed. I mean, if anything, it's leaning towards Philly just a little bit this morning at Caesars. -1 over under is 49, but you know, it's kind of a little bit different than last year for sure, where it did move quite a bit back and forth. Now, do you find it interesting that it's pretty much stayed constant to this point? And do you think it will stay that way?
Before I got on the plane, we were -1.5, the Chiefs.
Okay.
And then when I landed, we'd moved to 1.
Okay.
And that was because a run of very respective wagers on the Eagles. We saw money line bets and we saw +1.5. So that made us move. It usually takes a 7-figure bet.
Right.
For a normal wager to move the market, or respected customers. They don't necessarily bet 7 figures. They might bet 1,000, but because we respect them and we'll see a couple of those wagers, we'll move our number accordingly. So it's sometimes you put a number up, your customers will tell you whether you're right or wrong straight away.
Very quickly,
Very
as a matter of fact. Yes. Interestingly enough, respected bettors, can they bet 7 figures on their phones?
Yeah, as long as you got the digits on there. Yeah.
That's hard to fathom, betting 7 figures.
We
on
had
your
3 years ago. We had the Bengals and the Rams Super Bowl,
Right.
and we had a customer who placed 9.5 million.
Oh
and we're
my
like,
God.
we were testing it, so make sure it went through and everything.
Right,
and we're like,
right.
please, because he actually had a live TV station doing it at the time, and like, we're all sweating. And the bet went through, thankfully. So yes, you
Did
can.
he bet on the Bengals or did he bet on the Rams?
He bet the Bengals.
Oh, that's a shame. He lost all that money. Anyway, let's talk. Let's talk about some of these prop bets that I'm glad you brought this sheet with, which is phenomenal. What are some of your more interesting prop bets that you look on this sheet and you think fans will be interested in?
We've got a lot of Taylor Swift ones from last year, obviously, because it's
Okay.
second year. One interesting one is we offered the 1989 prop, which is Kelsey to get 1 or more touchdown receptions, 89 or more receiving yards, 9 or more receptions, or 1989. That was 4-1 last year. It's now 10-1 because he's obviously having a different season.
Right.
And we've seen a lot of interest for Noah Gray's performance markets. So that moves that number as well. So where you'll bet one player, you've got to take it from somewhere else off the stats. So we'll move that number accordingly. And then you've got all the popular ones. Like for some reason, our customers always get first touchdown scorer right on the Super Bowl. Odell Beckham Jr. in that Rams-Bengals one. I was like, oh, great, what a start. Customers are already one off us. DeAndre Hopkins at 33-1 is our biggest liability on first touchdown scorer.
I was going to ask you that. That's who you don't want to score the first.
As much as I love DeAndre Hopkins and as a great footballer he is, but don't score first.
What about the Eagles? Who's the first scorer there?
So Saquon Barkley leads in 3 times the number of tickets on player to score.
What is the number?
Anybody else?
What is the number on Saquon to score the first touchdown? You know it off the top of your head?
Yeah, it's like 3-1, 4-1.
Is
yeah,
it?
he's,
Okay.
yeah.
But I would imagine anytime touchdown, it's got to be around even money.
No, he's actually odds on. He's scored so many. Yeah, he'll be -$2.
Wow.
He's plus 420 to score first. So he's, you have 100, you win 420. Not a bad bet because. And the thing is, he can score from anywhere, as we saw in the NFC Conference Championship game. We normally worry about when running backs get to the 5
late
or
in the fourth quarter, and you don't even know. They could be at the 40, and it's 5 minutes left in the game. He breaks one.
From a sportsbook's perspective, if Saquon scores the first touchdown in the fourth quarter, we'll be okay.
Okay.
Because the over's not a problem. We
right.
always worry about the over. We worry about the overtime, and we worry about tails being the coin toss because that's always popular as well.
And look, we were talking earlier on the Insider Show, the show that comes on before us, and we were talking about Zach. I'm pretty much. I don't bet silly things. I'm not going to put together a 5-player prop parlay. If you've had fun doing that, by all means, go put your $5 down on it and go do it. But I'm a straight line. I'm going to bet at the money line. I might bet a total. I might do a parlay or whatever. But one thing I do enjoy doing for some reason the last 3 years in a row is betting the coin toss. What kind of numbers do you get? Like how much is wagered? I know off the top, I'm not asking for your exact figure, but about how much is wagered on people bet on the coin toss?
It will be the 5th most popular market. You've got money line spread total, always top 3. Squares is 4th. Coin toss is 5th.
Really?
Every year.
That's insane.
It's like automatically before the game's even started, we're sweating.
So, are you guys like sitting in a room together watching this and sweat like legitimately? Oh my God! Please don't let this happen. Or how does that work? Or how do you watch the game? Will you be at the game first of all?
No, I've been in the office back in Las Vegas. I'm a Dolphins fan, so I never get to go to the game. But yeah, there's a lot of expletives that get shouted out, a lot of stress, and sometimes you can hear, especially on a college Saturday, loads of games, different games are on, we've got different positions, and you'll hear a cheer, and then you'll hear, and then it's like, okay, that didn't go our way. I love it. Yeah, you're on your hands and knees, and you're praying to God, and you become very religious and very superstitious all of a sudden.
Craig Mucklow here with us, the VP of Trading at Caesars Sportsbook, and also the lead odds maker. Look, also, what are some of your favorites? What are some of your personal favorites?
My personal favorite?
Yeah, I mean, not maybe not something you're gonna have, but what do you find interesting? Like, what is the most, what are you gonna look for?
I love first half unders.
Okay.
It's I don't know my profit or loss.
Yeah.
But I always love an under. Personally,
well, you're in the bit. I mean, I'm sure you play. You're not playing at Caesar, but I'm sure you want to play, or you at least have opinions on some of these things.
No, because literally the company's liabilities are far more than my $5. So
yeah,
it's and you'd never cheer against the book anyway. So we're always cheering on for our team. Like
I would be the same way.
My wife said to me, like, if the Dolphins make the Super Bowl, you'll go. I'll be cheering against the Dolphins if it's for the company. So like, as much as I'd like to see it. But yeah, I love first half unders. I do like, and it will worry me because customers always bet it, Patrick Mahomes to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And he has to carry the ball across the goal line.
Literally, right.
And he runs far more often in the postseason than his average stats do in the regular season because obviously he doesn't want to get injured.
Right.
He's just had a new baby, so why not go score one in the touchdown and win again another Super Bowl?
Although his over/under attempts, I believe, is lower than. I mean, it's higher than
5.5 on the rushing.
Yeah, it's higher than it normally is.
Yeah, way higher. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, Craig, I appreciate you so much for taking time out here to come and talk to us here on the Dattitude podcast. We're looking so much forward to it, and we thank Caesars for. We've spent a lot of time together as we begin to figure all this out here in New Orleans.
It's like a home game for Caesars because we sponsor the Superdome and we've got a great property.
Well, we love it. Caesars Superdome, Caesars Sportsbook. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Craig Mucklow here on the Dattitude podcast. And look, it's a whirlwind here. You never know who's going to stop by. Here, we've got some regular guests. He's later. He's coming on at 2:55. Absolutely. We got Roman Gabriel III coming on in about 8 minutes, scheduled to come on in about 8 minutes. He is the CEO of Sold Out Youth Foundation. And then Devin Snow's going to come on at about 2:55. He is already sitting there waiting. So as I do some things live here on the air, man, Saints fan says 0521 says I got to take my glasses off to read this. You think I'm coming around about Carr? I don't know about that. I'm probably not coming around the way you think I am. I've never really changed my opinion. You know what? Devin, you can come on now if you want. Yeah, you can come on now. Devin's going to come on now. And we'll just talk to us for a few minutes, about, because we're talking, coming out at the perfect time. We're going to talk about Derek Carr. I mean, come on. I mean, we ain't got nobody better to talk about Derek Carr.
Strap in for that.
Nobody better to talk about Derek Carr than Hold the Mayo, Devin Snow. Welcome to the podcast, my man. You are on for episode number 200. You're here on live with us here on the day. What's going on?
A lot, man. This is super overwhelming. Just for, I guess, I mean, even for y'all, it's got to be. It's so much going on. But for somebody that's never been around any of this stuff, like, it really is like the Disney World of radio.
There's no doubt about that. And you and I are both, you've been doing it for quite a few years now. I've started the audio version of this podcast 4 years ago, and now the live version a year ago. So, I mean, we're all still trying to figure this thing out, but to walk around here and see all these different people. And then Kyle Turley walks up and he's like, "Who wants to talk to you?" I'm like, "Well, Kyle Turley, if he wants to talk to me, he's going to sit."
That's right. I was in the dome when he threw that helmet. I'm going to never forget it. Me and my dad in the nosebleeds. They hit Aaron Brooks hard, and Kyle Turley just wasn't having it. And I respect him for that.
Well, talk about your show and how it's grown and the live show you have on after games. And, to me, it's like the old Buddy D, except with a little bit more attitude.
Right.
You can say whatever you want.
Naturally, because I draw that. I think just in general, I'm going to draw them type of people. But, yeah, no, it's it's grown substantially to where I feel good about it for life. You know, like I feel like, damn, like at first I was like, you know, I want to do the call-in show, blah, 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 blah. Now it's like I can see myself doing this when I'm 70 years old, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's been everything I wanted it to be. Now it's just like, how do you evolve it? How do you make it look better? How do you screen calls? And
how do you prep? I mean, because I know everybody preps a little bit differently. But like I put together some, you know, it's funny because I put together a script and then I don't even read half of it. Not even less than half.
Hey,
do you put together anything?
All right, so I'll do that like when I'm watching the Saints game. You know, I'll write down a bunch of notes, blah 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 blah. Dude, I may look at them notes twice.
I know,
because it's something about it when you doing a show, you don't want to do that.
No, when you're talking to somebody and the next thing you know, like they're bringing up something and you're going to ask them a question and then they going, oh, I forgot what I was going to ask.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just think that the best way to go is just with the flow. And then of course, when you got callers calling in, that helps. You know what I'm saying?
How does that work? So you got your little
landline phone.
Okay, it's a the
only time you ever hear me shout out Cox is on this landline phone.
They still have landline phone.
Yeah, you can only get it through Cox.
Okay, so landline phone, and it's one call at a time.
It's one line. It's one call at a time. It's just like when you used to call B97 and Q93.
Does that thing go off like when you're sleeping at night?
Yes, all the time. And not only that, but when you get a landline phone, I don't know if y'all remember, what do you call it?
The spam calls.
Telemarketers. Once they get a hold of your landline phone, they call all day, leave messages all. They don't even know what they're talking about.
You ever had a spam call while you're doing a live show?
No, I don't know why.
That would be funny.
It would be so hilarious. I don't know why that hasn't happened, but it hasn't.
That would be funny.
Yeah, I know. I've been waiting for it, and my debt collectors call too. You know.
Spread quarters. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, $470. You bought a pair of pants and a pair of shoes.
We got to talk about your boy MI Live. That dude.
Yeah.
Tell me about this dude. Is he's legit, right? Like this?
Yeah. Nobody that is in my call that does the call-in show. Nothing is not organic.
Yeah.
So that's it. Like when you ask me, tell you about him, I could tell you about him from him calling the show.
Like you never knew this dude nothing.
No, I knew him from him calling the show for years. He's been calling for.
But I'm saying before you called in your show, you didn't.
No, I never knew this dude.
And did he say "Am I Live" like from the beginning?
No, you can go back in history and you could, if you ever wanted to, you could see that he's tried a few things.
Okay.
And that's good. That's what you want. You want callers to try something that may work. You know, because once you got a character caller, that's a big deal.
And I may have missed it. I don't think I did because I think I would have seen it because I'm following you on YouTube. I only follow like 15 people, but you haven't actually had him like present, like in person.
Absolutely not. Well,
Would you never do that?
No, because I believe in the imagination.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I really believe in it. And I respect that part. Like, okay, go back to WWF wrestling.
Yeah.
Right? Did Undertaker have a break character?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the stuff I believe in. So I would never want to tarnish that. It's up to him. If he wants to go show his face tonight on a live, he can go do it. But he's got a pretty good idea of.
If I had him on the show, I would definitely have to warn everybody and have something out there.
Yeah, he could do whatever he wants. But I think we all know that the best appeal is that mystery.
Yeah.
It's something about it. And just like Roast Beef Ron, just like the guy that plays the flute, you know, I don't want to see these. I really don't want to see these guys because I'm like everybody listening. I have an imagination.
Like Buddy D probably didn't see all the squirrels that called in.
Right. Well, but think about Buddy D. Like when I was a kid, I didn't know what Buddy D looked like. I just heard him on the radio.
Right. And see, now I'm old because he used to be a sports anchor on Channel 6, I think. I don't remember which one, but so I knew. And he's a newspaper dude, and I grew up in the newspaper.
It's just something about listening on the radio, man. It's like that's all. I remember seeing Howard Stern for the first time, and I was kind of surprised because I was listening to Howard Stern with my stepdad on the way to school.
Right.
This is back when they let him on the actual radio, and I was like, man, I wonder what this guy looks like. And then you find out.
Well, I think it's cool. Like you started off doing all kinds of little videos about different things, and my favorite one is
look at Jerome Bettis, dude.
My favorite one is you and Metairie at the different shopping. And shit
and I love talking about Metairie. Dude, this place.
That's you're still looking at everybody.
I can't get over it. Like I've never been somewhere where casually here comes Jerome Bettis.
I wish we could like show you what's going on here. I mean, maybe before the end of the week we'll give you a view. This is the last step.
Oh,
but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing.
John Randall.
I tell you what I'm gonna do in Dattitude. When we finish here today, I'm gonna take video of people just walking by, and I'm gonna show it on the show.
I'm just one of them. I mean, just like you, I'm a fan of football. So,
are you going to the actual game on Sunday?
Yeah, no way.
No, I didn't mean as a ticket. I didn't mean.
Oh yeah, I wish, but no way. No, I ain't even heard a rumor about it. A lot of times you'll hear, "Hey, I might have some tickets."
Might have something for you,
dude. What?
You would go on somebody's show for that.
Oh yeah.
You do a whole hour for that.
I'd go on QVC for a Super Bowl ticket, but it's. I mean, and then if not, I'm happy to be a part of this.
Yeah. Well, tell me, all right. Now, your thoughts of this whole debacle, where we are right now, in the Saints, and I got Roman and Gabriel III coming on in a minute. But tell me your thoughts before I let you go. Are you happy about Kellen Moore? You think that's the right direction to go? And do you think this team can make us at least looking forward to watch him again? Because we haven't looked forward to watching this team in a long time.
I think he'll help because, I always said I wanted an offensive-minded coach. And that's just what we're engraved from watching Sean Payton. We're engraved in this. And I said, hey, if we get an offensive-minded coach, I'm happy. I think that's a big part of changing the vibe is getting that going. This offense was atrocious. Injuries had a lot to do with it, obviously, but you still want something fresh after looking at what you saw the last couple years. Yeah. You want anything that could be potentially fresh. So I think he'll provide that. He's young. You remember him playing at what? Boise State?
Boise State, yeah.
I mean, he could sling it then. He's got dude loves offense.
The only thing that scares me is if he brings in like Brandon Staley as his DC. It scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, that's right.
But
that's right. He was on one of them.
Maybe you have more to make fun of on your show.
Now, the only thing I do worry about that I'll say about Kellen Moore is how will he take control of the room? How will he, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not saying
he's
hoorah.
Had a chance to do it. So.
Right. But I'm sure these were concerns about Sean Payton when he first joined,
if they win a division with Kellen Moore and Derek Carr stays, would you buy a 4 jersey? You were talking about buying a number 4 jersey.
I remember that one day that I did talk about that.
One day.
And I think I'm Live called my show later that night. And he goes, you thinking about buying a Derek Carr jersey?
That's not exactly what he said.
Right.
But yeah, something along.
But I look, nothing against the guy personally. It just doesn't do it for me. And it's not even as much, honestly, as the play on the field, which I do think's a little spotty and inconsistent, but more so it's the off the field for me. I just feel like he doesn't. He just doesn't read it right.
The whole let's keep it positive, brother.
Telling me that the locker room's still together after a 7-game losing streak. Like, just keep it real, buddy.
Really believes.
Yeah, just keep it real. That's
Devin,
all.
Thanks a lot for coming on the show, man.
Absolutely, always a pleasure.
We enjoy it. Hold a Mayo, and he's on live on his own YouTube channel after every Saints game, and I'm sure he's gonna be doing stuff coming up. Thank you. We got one more guest before we call it a day, and we've got Roman Gabriel III is gonna come on the show. Let me have a seat. How you doing?
How are you?
Roman, I'm Jim Derry. Nice to meet you. Have a seat.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. Hey, how you doing? All right, man.
All right, have a seat. Roman Gabriel III, who is the CEO of the Sold Out Youth Foundation, whose mission is to, quote, equip the next generation for success without drugs and alcohol. And we are proud to have him here on the Dattitude podcast on this Wednesday afternoon. There we go. Mic me up. On this Wednesday afternoon, presented by Evangeline Securities. Roman, how you doing and how you enjoying New Orleans?
Hey, having a lot of fun. This is what it's all about on Radio Row. A huge group of people putting the message out about not just a football game, but about what players, former and current, are all about. And for us, it's our Sold Out Youth Foundation. So we're happy that you give us a chance to put our messaging out to everybody out there.
Before I ask you about your dad, I want you to talk about the foundation and talk about that a little bit and how it got started and what you guys do.
Well, my dad's a big part of that equation because when I was growing up, my father started playing when I was born. He didn't play until I was a senior in high school, 17 years. So he showed me very fast in my life what it takes to be a great football player, but more importantly, the responsibility to the fans and to using your platform to impact other people's lives. And my dad raised over $10 million in his life for many worthy charities, and he really cared about his responsibility as the Rams quarterback and the Eagles quarterback. Leonard Toast, the owner of the Eagles back in the 70s, he was heavily involved in the Ronald McDonald House when that started. So he not only took me to these events, took me to these charitable opportunities to where I could see from my eyes how everybody has a platform to make
Yeah.
a difference. So for me, not only did he help me get to professional football, which was my dream to be a quarterback like him, but my wife and I started this foundation in 2008 to help kids reach their full potential and to hopefully do it drug and alcohol abstinence. So we got involved with this. COVID hit. We became a 100% online program working with public schools K4 through K12. And the fentanyl crisis happened about 4 years ago, the #1 killer of teenagers in our country. And we started an online college-accredited fentanyl education campaign for public schools working with their current internet system. So our program educates parents, it educates school staff and administration, and it educates all the students. But the difference is we don't have to take them to a website, ask them to go somewhere. It's part of their curriculum. It's proactive, it's intentional, it's mandatory. So every child gets to see the program and gets to learn what they need to learn to keep themselves safe.
As a father of 3 kids, I don't think there's not much more important than you can do to teach these kids the danger of drugs and alcohol and how, they don't know.
Well,
they can hear it from mom and dad all they want, but I think when they hear it in school, when they hear from people like you and people from the outside, then come in and tell them a little bit differently than we can.
What's important is that we realize that the kids need to be educated, but it's just as important that the parents have that information. So we started an online platform that gets sent out through an email letter from the schools that gives the parents all the information that they need so that when their kids do take our program, they're ready for them to come home. They know what they need to know to talk to them. And that's part of the hurdle for parents is I feel uncomfortable talking about it. Maybe if I talk to them, they're going to do it, or I'm not sure, I don't know enough. So we did all the research. We gave it into a real simple, visual presentation with tools and resources so that the parents can have a resource on their tablets and their phones, which are easy to do. And then to transmit the information, all you got to do is copy, paste onto a text or social networking. Now you're part of the solution sending it out.
Well, I want to say, you and I have something in common. We both lost our dads last year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he died a year ago yesterday, as a matter of fact. I saw that your dad had died in April.
Yeah.
But just talking about him a little bit. And look, I'm 56. So my youth growing up, and, he was the coach. He was the coach. He was the quarterback of the Rams for 10 or 11 years. And the Rams and Saints were big rivals, especially when the Saints first came in the league. And then finished his career with the Eagles. But just talk about what kind of a man he was and being able to grow up and watch your dad play pro football.
Well, it cuts both ways as a kid. My dad was totally committed to the Rams, totally committed to his teammates, and more than any guy I've seen in a long time, totally committed to the fans. So you can imagine, I'll give you a couple examples. After every game at the Coliseum, there's a gate that you walk up the ramp after the players come, and there wasn't security like there is today.
Yeah.
All the fans would wait at the top to get autographs for the guys.
Yeah.
It wasn't big like it was today with the, selling stuff. It was just getting somebody's autograph you like.
Right.
He would come out and he would sign every autograph, every one, after a game. And he would not leave until the final autograph was signed. So we'd wait for him. When we used to go to a restaurant, someone would come up to the table. Many guys today will say, hey, I'm with my family, I don't want to do it.
Right.
My dad would take the picture and sign it. So as kids, sometimes his commitment to that, we were kind of overlooked sometimes. But in terms of my dad and I having that cohesiveness of loving football together, that was kind of what held us together, the glue. I wanted to be like him from the time I was 7. I knew I wanted to be a pro football quarterback. I had no idea that quarterbacks didn't play 17 years, so I was ignorant to that.
Right. Every quarterback just plays 17 years.
But I knew when I watched him exactly what I needed to do to be great and to have a chance to be successful. So not only did he help me get to the NFL, which I reached my dream, in 1982, I came out to training camp with the Raiders as a free agent, then the USFL. But I started going to events with him at a young age and learned about charity and about giving back and about helping the next generation. And my wife and I have been serving the next generation for the last 29 years. It's been the passion of our life. Not easy all the time, but so worth it. And we have kids and grandkids like you do. So we want everybody to have the opportunity that our kids and grandkids have to be successful. So I wouldn't be sitting here with you today if it hadn't been for what my dad did for me.
What was it like after all that, after you're done with football, and let's say in the early 2000s, and I'm sure there were times when you just sat down at a Thanksgiving or whatever and just what is it like to watch football watch a football game with your dad?
A lot of fun because he loved watching football as well. He was a fan of the game.
Did he stay like a fan of the NFL until?
Well, when I was playing, my dad was working for CBS football.
That's right. That's right.
And he worked for Michigan football, Big Ten football with Brett Musburger, where he broke in.
Right.
And he did CBS radio. So when I played in college, he was leaving on Thursday night and not back till Sunday night with his CBS chores.
Right.
So he saw me play one time in junior college, I believe, twice in college, my last game of my senior year. And then probably the biggest thrill was when I was picked to play in the Senior Bowl in Alabama. He was picked to be the color guy for the game. So not only did I get to play in the Senior Bowl, but in front of my dad broadcasting the game and threw a touchdown in that game. It was a highlight, one of the highlights of my life because my dad was there.
Do you have tape of that?
Yeah. I just put it up the other day. Every year at Senior Bowl, every year I put that video up from ESPN. Just reminds me of appreciating the fact that you had the chance to play a great game. And I'll tell parents out there, don't be frivolous about your kids playing sports. It's really important. My dad told me 3 things. He didn't want me to play tackle football until I was 13, but I begged him at 9 to play, and he finally let me play, but he had 3 prerequisites. It was, number 1, you're going to respect the game.
Right.
Number 2, you're going to play it hard, and you're going to play it committed every single day, no matter what. And you're not going to quit.
Yeah.
And so for him, it was just as serious the way that I approached the game as it was the way he approached it. So I kind of got his type A mentality, which helps me in life today because this. Kids, this generation of kids are afraid to fail.
Yeah.
But my dad, embraced failure. For him, it was like, hey, if you don't fail, you're not going to be successful. You got to learn that disappointment is part of athletics and part of life. And the faster you learn it, the greater opportunity you're going to have to reach your full potential. So that's what I tell my kids and grandkids is don't be afraid to fail. That's part of it. You're going to fail a lot.
And I imagine you bring that a lot into the foundation.
Oh, gosh, to kids all the time. The difference is when we grew up, our parents pounded it in. You're going to fail, and you're not going to quit. These kids today would rather not try because they're afraid to fail, which is devastating because they never get the opportunity to find out what they could be really great at.
Yeah, they don't have the experiences that
that
a lot of us do. Well, I'm not going to let you go before I ask you, what do you think about this Super Bowl and in this game? And quarterback and Patrick Mahomes to me has a chance. Maybe he's not there yet. Maybe some people think he is, but I know how great Tom Brady was, but I really think Patrick Mahomes has a chance to be the greatest player who has ever walked this field. And if you win 3 Super Bowls in a row and do something else that someone's never done in the history of this game, that'd definitely be something.
You only had 2 other quarterbacks that had the opportunity to do that. Tom Brady, they lost Super Bowl 52, or they would have won 3 in a row.
Right.
In Montana, San Francisco, and they lost the Giants in, I believe it was 86. In the championship game, Roger Craig fumbled. They had a chance to win it and go to their 3rd Super Bowl. I'm going to make a prediction, though. If Patrick doesn't have a chance to win it this year, it'll never be done. That's just so hard to do.
It really is.
And Buffalo went 4 straight times and lost 4 straight times.
Right.
But if you're going to ask me about this game, they know each other so well. This is going to come down to who capitalizes on the few mistakes. And the team that runs for 100 or more, if Saquon gets 100 or more, they're going to win. And then it comes down to, with Patrick Mahomes, you never want to give him a chance to win at the end of the game. So to beat the champ, you got to beat him.
Yeah.
Buffalo, unfortunately, you can't wait on a call on 4th down to win. You got to decisively win. So you got to take chances. You got to go on 4th down, which Philly likes to do. I think it's going to be a mid-20s game. It's going to be close. But I think Saquon's going to be the difference. The way they've run the football, if you saw Buffalo ran the ball really well in the second half on Kansas City. Kansas City's got a good defense, but not a great run defense. If they give Saquon the ball more than 20 times, I think they have a chance to win.
I think you got a great prediction there. And look, it's going to be tough. You talk about what Saquon has done. I think he should have been the MVP of the league.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to get it. We'll find out, I guess,
tomorrow
night.
They should win. They should let the Super Bowl game happen before they give out an MVP award.
I agree with you.
Saquon deserves it for what he's done for the Eagles this year.
100% agree.
Mahomes, I'm a big Brady fan. When Patrick gets 8 Super Bowls or 7 Super Bowls, he'll be tied with the best. And when he gets 8, he'll be the best.
You want to talk about hard to do. I know how hard 3 is to do, but to win 7 Super Bowls.
Well, think about it. Tom went to 10. and the 3 you
that's
lost,
insane.
the 3 they lost, he was winning and had the winning score, and lost on the last possession of all 3 of those games. So he could have won 10.
You know, and interestingly, his first was here in New Orleans in
Beat the Rams.
2002.
That broke my heart.
I'm sure it did. But we showed a picture on yesterday's show, and I took it out, so I don't have it here to show you right now. But there's a picture from Media Day, and the media was talking to Drew Bledsoe, even though Tom Brady was the starter. Tom Brady was in the background kind of smiling. No one was even talking to Tom Brady because he wasn't Tom Brady yet. But yet he was about to start his first Super Bowl.
I'll tell you how crazy Tom's career is. I've covered all of Tom's New England Super Bowls. This is my 29th year in media here. And I can tell you that if you remember, he lost in a championship game, won 2 in a row when they beat the Eagles for the second win in a row. And the next year they lost in the playoffs to Denver in a championship game. I was at the Super Bowl at Super Bowl 40 in Detroit, and it was young in his career. It was the first time that he wasn't in the Super Bowl, where he was walking around like everybody else, and he was just there. You could tell he was like uncomfortable because it's like, what am I doing here? Why am I not playing? So it's incredible what he did in his career. Patrick's situation is really interesting because I think Patrick, Tom has been a mentor to Patrick. I think the loss to him in the playoffs, which was one of the greatest games of all time, that Kansas City playoff game that they almost came back and beat Brady. And then I remember that he went in the locker room and had a long talk with Patrick, and they talked. And then I think the win over Tampa beat them in the Super Bowl. So I think Patrick looks at it as, I got a chance to catch him. But if you ask Patrick, I think Patrick would still tell you that
he'd rather
he's the best.
Yeah, wow. And he's got a long way to go, and he's only 27 or 28 years old. But
he's got a great coach.
Roman,
and they got a great D too, which helps.
Thank you so much for stopping by. It's been a pleasure, and I was a fan of your dad's, and the sold out.
You got to hold that up. So fathead.com's coming out with a legacy collection of my dad, Roman Gabriel, life size poster program, stand up, and Fathead. So we'll be announcing that very soon. We thank you to Fathead for putting him in the legacy group with Roger Staubach, Terry Bradshaw, Johnny Unitas, Franco Harris, Lynn Swan, and many other greats. So my dad's legacy can live on in people's living rooms and man caves and kids' bedrooms.
And if you're too young to know Roman Gabriel when he was playing, you can find it on YouTube. You can find games of Roman Gabriel.
I picked this. Dirt and blood, baby, in one bar.
And that was the same uniform they were wearing back when they came.
MVP or 69.
Tulane. Well, what about when they came to Tulane Stadium? Yeah. That first game in Tulane Stadium. Yeah.
Where Archie Manning scored on 4th down to beat us from the 1 yard line his rookie year.
That's 1971.
The Saints blew it up for us. It was terrible. And he didn't get in, by the way.
And they
didn't have replay.
You know what? Now they're blowing it up again here in New Orleans, but a different kind of way.
Archie's great, though.
Yeah, he really is. The whole Manning family is
incredible. And, one of the cool things about players that played in the league, Roger Staubach's the guy who looked up to my dad. So many players that loved my father and emulated him. I've heard so many stories. You see so many guys that he mentored that helped, when they were rookies to come in the league. So that's what I hope for players today. And that's what I love about what Tom Brady did. When you listen to what's going on with New England, you'll hear rookies that came in as free agents where Tom came up day one, introduced himself, knew about the person and said, thanks, welcome to the team. That's what you want to see.
I've never admitted this on the 4 years of this show, but the day that the Saints traded Archie Manning to the Oilers for Leon Gray, I cried. I mean, I was only 15 years old, but I cried like a baby. They traded who? And for who? Right. You've got to be kidding. So Archie Manning's legend still, and I know you do a lot of things in media. I actually had the privilege of doing play-by-play for Arch Manning's final high school game at Newman. It didn't go for him. Obviously, it was their final game. It was in the semifinals of the state playoffs there, but I had the privilege.
He's got a big future at Texas.
He does, and who knows? Maybe in
I think, listen, one thing about being the son of a quarterback, or in this case, uncles, you do have an advantage because you realize what it takes.
Right.
You understand the pressure. You understand what is expected. You understand the work ethic. You know what you need to do. Then it just becomes the desire of how bad you want it.
It certainly helped Peyton and Eli.
Well, I was fortunate because I got my dad's body and his and that's a big deal. Big hands, big frame, and I thank you for that as well.
Yeah, well, we thank you for coming on.
Brother.
Thank you again, Roman.
Appreciate you.
Roman Gabriel III, everyone, here on the Dattitude podcast. It's been a pleasure, and we thank you for joining. Look, this show has been, man, I didn't expect to have, I don't even know. I think we had 8 guests on the show today. I mean, it's been a crazy show, but I am going to wrap it up here. And look, I see some predictions there in the chat. We are going to have Friday's show is going to be all about predictions. I'm not sure who the guest is yet because I'm going to be back at my home studio on Friday afternoon. Friday at 1 p.m. We will be doing it there. So we'll have also have UBN and Gabe will be on with their regular segment, their pick'em segment as well. Oh, I know. I need to give you that as well. Don't let them forget that. So, but we are gonna, you know what? We'll stay on for a couple minutes here before we go off the air because I did want to talk about the Saints a little bit, just me to you, and see what kind of comments I missed. I'm sorry by the way, I'm sorry that we didn't have the comments that I would have liked to, but we had guests coming in and out, and it was so crazy. I was monitoring them, but I didn't necessarily have time to ask the question, so I apologize that I didn't get to them. Let me tell you real quick. We told you earlier we'll let you know more about Evangeline Securities and how they can help figure out what your family-run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it? Well, after their complimentary evaluation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ronnie Melton, the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process among established private equity funds from around the world. And they will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and none with their dedication and success. You can't really get to their office on Porter Street right now, so you might want to make the appointment, schedule the appointment for next week, because I'm telling you, everything's shut down around here. It's insane. But you can still call them. They are fully licensed and ready to serve you, so get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. It's not the Saints' next coach. It's not Super Bowl 59. It's not whether Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady is the GOAT. What's really important? The rest of your life. You can contact them and find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Okay, Craig isn't here today, so I'm going to tell the Dempsey story on Friday. You're not here today. I know you, Corey Terrio is not here today. So I'm going to save the Tom Dempsey story that I've been promising. I'm going to tell it to you on Friday. Tomorrow, just a heads up on what's coming up schedule-wise. There is no show tomorrow, but the Saints Insider is going to have like a marathon, okay? It's going to be kind of like Saints Insider and Dattitude. There are so many people. Again, I am going to take and it's kind of cleared out a little bit because it's the afternoon. And I mean a little bit. I mean, you should have seen this place, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours ago. It's insane. And I had a hard time, revolving door of guests, but there was so many different people in this place. So I'm going to try to take some video. I will show you that on Friday because I know tomorrow is going to be just as crazy here on Radio Row. And so we'll talk about that. S. Callie says, great show. Hannah is amazing. She is. I thank Hannah Storm for coming on the show, obviously. Brian Cabot said Arch Manning's dad was really good wide receiver. Cooper Manning absolutely was a great wide receiver. If he doesn't get hurt at Ole Miss, Cooper Manning is an NFL wide receiver, I promise you. Charles Mangus says, awesome show, great guest. I don't think I'll ever top the number of guests I had in this show. Again, surprise guests. We had Kyle Turley stop by. It's a whirlwind. I mean, Red Bean, I saw him earlier, Devin Snow. He just came by, said, you want to come on? Yeah, he was going to come on after Roman, but he was here and waiting, so why not? So if you missed part of the show or you missed a big chunk of the show and you're just coming on now, I'm telling you, when we go off the air, it's worth rewinding. We had, again, Hannah Storm was on. Larry Holder was only on for about 10 minutes. D Squared stopped by. I'm glad I just saw him. And I knew I wanted to talk about it real quick. I forgot. Right across, I wanted to give him a shout out. Louisiana Fish Fry. I meant to talk about them earlier. They are right across the hall over here. Michael Rabelais, got to talk to them, and there's my friend Mike Detillier is over there. But Michael Rabelais over at Louisiana Fish Fry, they cooked up yesterday to show you how crazy it is here. 80 pounds of fish. They fried 80 pounds of fish yesterday, and today they were serving 100 pounds of boiled crawfish. They were boiling them upstairs and bringing them down. So Louisiana Fish Fry is right next to us. It's crazy. Again, I wish I could show you more of the scenes. It's easy for me. All you see is my backdrop, and I got a view. And we're on the far end of Radio Row here, so I don't know what's going on behind me, but people walking by, and a lot of the stars are going into Sirius XM. Jaden Daniels, I told you, was here a little bit earlier, and I mean, we've just seen a Cam Jordan when he came by. He had like an entourage with him. It was nuts. I saw Spencer Rattler just a minute ago. Spencer Rattler walked by just a minute ago, huh? Oh, the camera's pointing out. Oh, yeah, they can see now. Okay, there you go. So it's not as crazy, but there you get a look. Thank you for that, Norman. You get a look now and see. They can't see. Mike Detillier was trying to wave at it. You can see what's going on. This is the far end of Radio Row. And again, about an hour ago, as Norman kind of pans around, when I tell you that aisle right there was just jam-packed and people walking by the entire time we were on the show. Again, it's thinned out because it's 3 o'clock now and people have gone. But when I come back tomorrow, again, no show tomorrow, but I am going to help out with the Saints Insider Show. So I'll be here. If you go and check out the Saints Insider, you can find there. They have their own YouTube page. Also, NOLA.com/Saints. I'm going to be in and out, giving Zach a break, but I am going to sleep late tomorrow. That's going to be one thing that I'm going to do. But I thank our friend Norman Bell for turning the camera around so you can see what's going on. But I will take some scene setter shots, and we will have that on Friday's show. What else? Again, apathy. You are 100% right, my God. Oh, my God, if I had the rat on our show. I mean, if Norman would have called him over and he wanted to come, I would have put him on. I mean, I don't know. I would have had to be nice. Look, I saw the mayor last night, and I was super nice to her, and she was super nice back. I'm just saying. It can happen. All right, let me end this show before I get in trouble here. We are 2 hours and 6 minutes. It's not as long as yesterday's, but we had twice as many guests. It's just been, I'm telling you. Friday, I'm going to give you some more scene setters, and I'm not just going to be, just going to tell you it's crazy. I'm actually going to show you it's crazy. Whoa, there he is. Oh, somebody's in the way. Oh, now you can see him. There he is. For they all still watching. Spencer Rattler, ladies and gentlemen. I can't say you're seeing Spencer Rattler live on the Dattitude podcast. I mean, he's not on the Dattitude podcast, but it is for him. Saints fan says it's the best show ever. Can you imagine if I would have had the rat on it? It would have really been the best show ever. That'd have been phenomenal. Who knows? Maybe we'll have him on the Insider tomorrow. I don't know. But we're going to be here tomorrow. The Insider will be on live. I think they said Norman, did they say from 9:30 to 3:30 tomorrow? 9:30 to 3:30 without a break tomorrow. It's going to be like a marathon show. We have I can tell you some of the people who are going to be on. One of them you're definitely going to want to catch, and I think it's at 12:30. It's somebody you might know. He used to play quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. He's going to be on the show. I think he wore number 9. He's going to be on. No, it's not Derek Carr. Drew Brees is going to be on the Saints Insider Show tomorrow. Again, I think it's 12:30. Deuce McAllister is going to be on the show. Corey Dillon, I think they said is going to be on the show. A.J. Dillon. I'm sorry. Josh Jacobs is also going to be A.J. Dillon, not Corey Dillon. A.J. Dillon is going to be on the show. A.J. Dillon, famously known for being on the Derry Bombs fantasy football team for 4 years. That's a whole other story. Nobody cares. Brian, yes. Drew Brees is going to be on the Saints Insider Show. So we're kind of merging Saints Insider and Dattitude tomorrow because I'm not going to get here till a little later. It's all going to be one show. So go check them out if you haven't already. Saints Insider Podcast. All right. That is going to wrap up the show for today. Again, I want to thank all of my guests. If I had so many, I mean, I honestly don't even, I'm going to go back and say, oh, yeah, I forgot to say thanks to this person or that person. So I will say for sure, Hannah Storm. It was great to have her on the show. She was on for about 15 minutes. If you missed that portion, You can go back. We talk about her winning the Pat Summerall Award tomorrow. St. Jude's Hospital is awarded this every year to someone who is in the media, in sports media world, who is very charitable with their time. And the Hannah Storm Foundation helps. Oh, you're gonna have to go back and watch. I'm just telling you. She also talked a little bit about the Pelicans, talked about what she thought about the Luka trade. She talked about the Saints, and of course, she gave us her Super Bowl prediction. So she was awesome. Larry Holder was here. Kyle Turley was here. Red Bean was here. It was a great show. I want to thank everybody. Roman Gabriel III, who was here. The celebrity doctor, who was our first guest this morning. D Square Dave DeCorbier stopped by. It was a whirlwind. Okay. I never thought I'd have 7, 8, 9, whatever guests. We really had like 12 or 13 on throughout the entire 2+ hour show. It was interesting. All right. Also, before I go off the air, I know I had problems with the audio pod from yesterday, so I have not put that up yet. But when I go home this afternoon or this evening, I will put up both the audio portion from yesterday and the audio pod from today, so you'll be able to listen to both of them if you want. So that will be up. And a reminder to subscribe. If you haven't already done so, you've been watching on Facebook, you got to be a part of the Dattitude family. You got to go over to the Dattitude YouTube page and subscribe there. You'll know always when we're going on the air live. Usually it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when it's not football season. It's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday during Saints season. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when it's not Saints season at 11 a.m. Central Time. However, Super Bowl week, this one week, we're kind of swapping it around. The insiders are going in the morning. We're going in the afternoon. And we will be on also Friday at 1 p.m. again as I'm back in my home studio. Also, you can find us wherever you get your podcast, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. And find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. You can find me on bet.nola.com. The Saints Insiders again, NOLA.com/Saints. And subscribe to them on YouTube as well, especially for tomorrow. I'm telling you, you're going to want to watch tomorrow's show. There's going to be a whole bunch of stars here tomorrow afternoon. We will see you Friday for more Saints talk with, I don't know who the guest is yet. Also, we will have our Super Bowl predictions. It'll be me, it'll be Gabe, it'll be Uncle Big Nick, the usual suspects. And, of course, I'm going to let you know what the standings are. I mean, I got to show you those. There's a reason for that. That's all coming up Friday. Until then, we will see you. Take care. Don't eat too much king cake. We'll see you on Friday. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.